Father, we stand in your presence this morning to acknowledge who you are, the great God of heaven, the creator of the ends of the earth. Lord, we also come to thank you for what you are doing, what you have done, what you are doing in our life. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for giving all of us strength, physical strength, mental strength, Lord, financial strength, and for keeping us feet in our head to be able to stand, sit, or come to this place today. Lord, we give you praise for the privilege of being in this academic community. Thank you, Lord God, for what you have endowed all of us with, the skill, the wisdom, the insight, the creativity. Lord, we are grateful for all these, your manifold blessings. We are not taking any of them for granted, and we give you praise and we give you thanks. We also thank you for the English program who has put this conference together. Thank you for every individual you are using to make today happen. Lord, we also thank you for our guests that you have brought from outside Bowen University. Thank you, Lord God, for traveling mercies they have enjoyed. Thank you, Lord God, for everybody that is forming the host this morning. Thank you for Bowen University community, for keeping our campus alive and for keeping us safe. Lord, we give you thanks for all this. Accept our thanks, dear Lord, in Jesus' name. Lord, this morning we commit this program to your hands, knowing that without you we can do nothing. So, Lord, we are asking you that we will feel your presence, we will enjoy your presence. Lord, we pray that for everyone that will be presenting one thing or the other, you will grant strength to every individual. Lord, we pray for those who will be the recipient of the knowledge you are passing across today. The Lord, you prepare our heart. And Lord, this exercise, this program will not be in vain. But Lord, it will be an addition to the academic development of Bowen University, but particularly for the English program and all participants. Lord, let your name be glorified in all things that we do here. Blessed be your name, Heavenly Father. We sanctify this hall, and we pray that, Lord, this hall will inhabit your glory. Thank you, dear Father. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen and amen.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here this morning and to welcome you all to today's opening ceremony of the Corpus Linguistics Association of Nigeria Conference. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Jonathan Babalola in absentia, other principal officers in absentia, University Librarian, Dr. Aderonke Otunla, the University Chaplain, Reverend Dr. Gideon Akonbi, Provost, College of Liberal Studies, Professor Kolawole Olawale, the Acting Head of the English Program, Dr. Bimbola Idowu Faith, Clan Board of Trustees, headed by Professor Tunde Okwe Davis, erudite professors, members of the Clan Executive Committee, distinguished members of Clan, all confreres, ladies and gentlemen. I'm highly elated to welcome you all to the second international conference workshop of the Corpus Linguistics Association of Nigeria. I recognize the support of the Vice Chancellor, principal officers, and other dignitaries who have found time to attend this opening ceremony despite their busy schedules. You are most welcome, sirs and madam. I would also like to welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Tunde Okwe Davis from the University of Lagos, and our first plenary speaker, Professor Marcus Kallis from the University of Bremen, Germany, who is joining us virtually. We also recognize other workshop facilitators, including Dr. James Akinola, Dr. Ayo Oshisonwo, Dr. Folajimi Oyebola, and Dr. Rotimi Oladipupo, who spoke to us yesterday. To our professors, including Professor Yemi Adegoju from OAU, members, colleagues, and students who are here physically at Bowen University, as well as those joining us virtually, I warmly welcome you all to this conference. We deeply appreciate the Almighty God for the gift of life and for safe travels for all participants. On behalf of the Clan Board of Trustees and executive members, I'm most grateful to the management of Bowen University for accepting to host this year's Clan Conference, despite the challenging times that we have found ourselves in Nigeria. This affirms Bowen's deep commitment to knowledge advancement in Nigeria. We also express our sincere gratitude to the Provost of Liberal Studies, Acting Head of English Department, who doubles as the Chair of the LOC, members of the Local Organizing Committee, and the entire members of the College of Liberal Studies for ensuring that this conference is a reality today. I cannot but appreciate all conference and workshop participants who have defied all odds to be a part of this conference, despite the economic and security challenges around us. This indeed reveals your commitment to impacting society through teaching and research. Distinguished professors, ladies and gentlemen, it was only 2 years ago, in December 2022, that the Corpus Linguistics Association of Nigeria was established, and on 9th October 2023, the association was duly registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission. Since then, the association has been growing in membership and knowledge-building activities. Presently, we have 69 registered members from over 25 institutions in Nigeria, Ghana, Germany, the US, and the UK. Our website is now functional, and you can access it for further information and academic resources. In the past 2 years, we've had webinars covering different areas, including statistical methods in corpus linguistics, corpus pragmatics, corpus assisted discourse analysis, and corpus pragmatics. Besides our first international conference, which took place in late November 2023 as Redeemers University, where we dealt with topics related to corpus stylistics and corpus social linguistics. Indeed, you will agree with me that the association is moving forward in a positive direction. As we already know, the theme of this conference is Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities, a nexus for teaching, research, and societal development, which is aimed at bringing scholars together to learn more about corpus linguistics and digital humanities and to present their works in both areas. This is a crucial topic at this juncture, especially now that the new CCMAS has included digital humanities as a compulsory course for all 200 level students in the humanities. For us in corpus linguistics, this is a welcome development because corpus linguistic tools are used within digital humanities. Already we are grateful that the chair of our board of trustees, who is also our keynote speaker, just organized a conference and workshop on digital humanities. This indeed has made our work easier. For this second conference of Clan, we have seasoned corpus linguists who will present their state-of-the-art research in different areas in corpus linguistics and digital humanities. Since we know that many scholars want to learn more about these two related fields, we have put together a number of workshop trainings that will be handled by experts in both fields. In addition, we have about 25 panel presentations from scholars, which confirms the expansion of corpus linguistics in Nigeria. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to participate fully in the conference and workshop in order to reap the great benefits of the programs, which will not only expand our research expertise, but will also be beneficial to your colleagues and students when you return to your institutions. Once again, on behalf of the CLAN executive members and local organizing committee, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Good morning, the high table and every participant. Because of our time, I'd like to stand on the existing protocol. It is my great pleasure to welcome everyone to the second international conference workshop of the Corpus Linguistics Association of Nigeria, being hosted here in this beautiful and serene campus of Bowen University, Iwo. On behalf of the entire local organizing committee, the English program, and the entire College of Liberal Studies, I extend our warmest greetings and express our gratitude for your participation. This conference brings together an exceptional group of professionals, academics, and enthusiasts, all dedicated to advancing research, teaching, and community service in corpus linguistics and digital humanities. Corpus linguistics is a method and field within linguistics that examines actual language use in different formal and informal contexts, including religion, politics, education, literature, and media, using computer-based corpora. Digital humanities, on the other hand, leverages digital tools to explore data in the humanities, encompassing language, literature, theater, philosophy, history, religion, and music. These two intersecting fields, which involve the use of computer-based corpora, are creating grounds for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research the world over. Now, the centrality of digital humanities to humanistic research is fundamental to the recent inclusion of digital humanities as a core faculty course in arts mass. And so this is why it has become imperative for us as scholars, researchers, and teachers, and even students within the arts and humanities to become trained in digital humanistic tools. Your presence here today signifies a collective commitment to fostering innovation, sharing knowledge, and building connections that will undoubtedly shape the future of this emerging field of study. I therefore implore all participants to diligently seize this opportunity that the conference and workshop offers to learn the intricacies of research in corpus linguistics and digital humanities, in mapped relationships with other scholars, enthusiasts for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research. There is a poem I have, and this would be my closing line. Let it be that in the next season of life, that these thoughts burden on your hearts, unsettling your sleep in the dark of the night, are imbued with needed light and impetus to blossom and flourish like springtime flowers, to give alive your garden of many colors, to bid your dry and harsh harmattan farewell. I want to take this opportunity to recognize and thank the university management for the kind approval given to us to host this conference. Your unwavering support has been instrumental in making this event a reality. We are deeply grateful for your contributions and dedication to scholarship. Today and tomorrow, you will have the chance to attend a variety of sessions, workshops, and presentations, all designed to offer valuable insights and stimulate meaningful dialogue. I want to implore you to take full advantage of these opportunities to learn, to network, and to grow. Once again, welcome to Bowen Plan 2024, the second international conference cum workshop of CLAN. I wish you all an engaging, enlightening, and productive conference experience. Thank you.
Praise the Lord. Yes, I want to stand on the existing protocol. I want to welcome each and every one of us to this wonderful program. I will please plead with you that you allow me to invite my predecessor, who was at the vanguard of this project, my former provost, to come and give us the opening remark. The person of Dr. Sandy of Nexus. Please, I want you to come together to appreciate him. He was the provost at the time they were planning this. I just came on board a few weeks ago, and I want to give him the honor to address the
I must confess that I am humbled by the humility of my humble boss. Thank you very much, sir. Quite frankly, I appreciate this opportunity because Professor Olawale's humility is catching, and it's something that I have understudied since I was employed, in the university. Once again, thank you, my dear provost. So my presentation or my short remark will be at the pleasure of the provost, the present provost of the College of Liberal Studies. I thought I would have an applause on that. So it is my great pleasure to welcome all participants and distinguished guests to Bowen University version of the Corpus or CLAN, as it were. I would like to stand on the protocol that's already established now. So it's very comprehensive. It is my pleasure to welcome all participants and distinguished guests to Bowen University for the Corpus Linguistics Association of Nigeria's 3-day conference, being hosted primarily by the English program of the College of Liberal Studies of Great Bowen University. As an institution dedicated to fostering academic excellence, innovation, and interdisciplinary research and strategic partnership, the Vice Chancellor readily found it a worthy and auspicious opportunity to yet again exemplify this focus of the university by approving and supporting the request that this year's conference of CLAN held here. Today, the College of Liberal Studies and indeed its English program are, to say the least, honored to host such a prestigious gathering of linguists, researchers, and practitioners. Bowen University has always been committed to advancing knowledge and promoting interdisciplinary dialogue, and this conference is a perfect embodiment of that mission. The field of corpus linguistics, with its profound impact on language study and application, and with particular reference to the theme of this year's conference, Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities, is one that we deeply value. We are therefore excited to be a part of the ensuing conversations and discoveries that will unfold at this awesome 3-day gathering. We trust that you will find the sessions enlightening, the discussions stimulating, and the environment here at Bowen University refreshingly conducive for collaboration and intellectual growth. As you share your insights and engage in discourse, we hope that you also take a moment to experience the rich culture and hospitality that our campus and community offer. On behalf of the College of Liberal Studies and indeed Bowen University, I extend our warmest welcome to each of you and wish you to have a very robust, productive, and inspiring conference. Thank you for listening.
Good morning. Once I use ladies and gentlemen, that covers everybody. So I shouldn't be afraid of protocol again. It's a pleasure having you here in Bowen University for this conference. I want to strongly advise you, since you are here, that the conferences like this are normally of immense benefit to participants, because from here you can catch ideas of what you can do that may eventually transform your research, your teachings, and from conferences like this you may have opportunity of making connections that becomes your lifelong lifeline. And I know from conferences like this, so many things can happen. So I want to encourage you to put in all your best. And it could just be one word that you will hear that will change the whole thing. So let's be very attentive, and I wish you all the best. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, yeah, no problem at all. Thank you very much indeed again for giving me the opportunity here to participate in the conference. And let me now again share the screen and make sure that everybody can see it. Okay, so I hope this is the case and you can hear me loud and clear. So as I said before, my presentation today will focus on corpus approaches to the phraseology of Nigerian Englishes, and in particular, I want to look at the cultural cognitive aspects that impact the development of this kind of phraseology. Now, here's a quick roadmap. So first, a brief introduction, and then I'll be looking at two types of figurative language, namely idioms and proverbs, and how they are important from the point of view of language and culture. And I will be presenting 3 case studies that I have conducted in recent years that look at the variability and innovation of idiomatic expressions, that will be looking at cultural conceptualizations in proverbs. And then the final case study will be combining the two. It will be investigating proverbs and how they impact the structural nativization or the emergence of an idiomatic phraseology in Nigerian English. And then I'll wrap up with a quick conclusion. Now, the spread of English and its increasing localization on a global scale, which has also sometimes been referred to as glocalization, or in other research is referred to as indigenization or nativization, is of course a process that has kept researchers in the World English's paradigm busy for the last few decades. And in my research, I'm interested in questions of what role does the local linguistic ecology play, and how does it interact with sociolinguistic, but more importantly, cognitive cultural factors, especially in language context situations, like the one in Nigeria that we will be focusing on in the talk today. Now, the assumption in that kind of research is that cultural concepts that are encoded in indigenous languages will progressively be encoded in various features of the English language as it is used by local speech communities to express culturally constructed concepts and worldviews. So in this localization of English, cultural concepts from the indigenous languages will progressively be expressed by using linguistic material of English. Now, in context linguistics, the specific role of culture and the conceptual system as the locus of language contact has been underrepresented. So my aim is to broaden the scope of context linguistics and discuss the nexus of language and culture in world Englishes. And I will do so on the basis of the mentioned case studies on proverbs and cultural conceptualizations, especially in Nigerian Pidgin English, and how these impact the development of idiomatic phraseology in Nigerian English. Now, as most of you know, Nigerian English, when it is described in the world English's paradigm, is assumed to have arrived at stage 3, nativization, with reference to Schneider's dynamic model. And there are also first signs of Nigerian English entering stage 4, which is called endonormative stabilization, because what we're seeing now is we see, of course, or we have been seeing for a long time, literary creativity, and we are seeing increasingly signs of codification, so dictionary writing, and of course an increased linguistic and also grammatical description. And Kingsley Wani recently has published 2 very interesting studies where especially the process of codification is very nicely described, I think. Now, we know that the nativization of Nigerian English has been well documented in the literature, in particular for phonology and prosody, but also more for syntax, and more recently also for the field of discourse and pragmatics. And here I think especially the work by Foluka Unuabona in recent years deserves a special mention. So where pragmatic markers in Nigerian English and various types of speech acts have been described in great detail. So I think we know a lot more now about the discourse and pragmatics of Nigerian English. And what I'm interested in is something that has maybe been less described, and that is in particular idiomatic phraseology and figurative language. Because my assumption is, and we have a lot of recent literature that gives us some insights into this, namely that nativization or the localization of English is not only affected through language contact on the structural linguistic level, but also at the broader cultural cognitive level. So we expect that local culture or cultures and functional pragmatic norms of interaction of its speakers should also be reflected in the process of localization of English. And this is something that has been referred to as acculturation in some research. Now, Schneider, the most famous perhaps person in terms of model building and research on world Englishes, acknowledges in his book the tendency for cultural and communicative conventions to be modified, possibly transferred from indigenous cultures in context situations. But the way I read it is that it is pretty much restricted to the level of pragmatics and discourse, and does not so much acknowledge this cultural cognitive level that I'm interested in my research. Now let's look at the first type of figurative language, namely idioms. Now in the traditional research literature, idioms are often thought to be expressions whose meaning cannot be predicted by just adding up the meanings of the constituent parts. So, common examples would be spill the beans or skate on thin ice, where it's impossible to guess the meaning of the idiom just by adding up the meanings of the individual words. But the view I'm taking is basically the cognitive linguistic view on idioms, which considers idioms to reflect linguistic creativity, compositionality, and metaphorical thought, and which also implies that idioms are subject to structural and conceptual variability. So they are not frozen phraseological units, but they are indeed variable and exemplify the usage-based and also culture-specific nature of figurative language. And I have a couple of examples for you, especially for those of you who are not so much familiar with cognitive linguistics and the underlying underlying assumptions, also with a view to cognitive metaphor theory. So what we know is that in idioms, certain source domains appear to be more productive than others. So in particular, idiomatic expressions that reflect direct human experience, and those that relate to the human body are quite frequent, and they actually outnumber idioms from other source domains. So I have a couple of examples for you. So here you can see some examples of common idioms and the underlying target and source domains that are believed to be responsible for their metaphorical motivation. So idioms such as to break someone's heart or one's heart sinks into one's boots clearly make use of body parts, in particular here the heart. And emotions, which are an abstract concept, are conceived of as being parts of the body that are somewhat affected in the expression of emotions. To help someone back on their feet, to stand on one's own 2 feet, also common idioms here. The underlying motivation would be strength, is firm and upright position. And if you're down, if you're not upright, then you feel weak or you're not feeling well. Something is hard to swallow, or to find something or someone a tough nut to crack. Here, the underlying domain mapping on conceptual basis would be problems or challenges or ideas of food. To keep one's head above water, to be up to one's neck in it, is motivated by dangerous deep water. And finally, to burn one's fingers on something or to take on a hot issue is motivated by problems, hot objects. So you can clearly see here that idioms can be motivated by means of an underlying target source domain mapping. So we take information from bodily experience and then we map it onto a more abstract concept to be able to understand it better. Now, what do we know about idioms in varieties of English? Well, when compared to lexicogrammar, there's relatively little research on this kind of phraseology. And the earliest attempt I could trace was Platt and others in 1984, who proposed a taxonomy of idioms in what they called the New Englishes. However, they take a very prescriptive approach and refer to those as learners' attempts to use a British English or American English idiom. And they assume that these are not yet true or stabilized idioms in the respective New English. And this is why I don't really want to go into this taxonomy here in detail, also for reasons of time. But what you can see here, perhaps, at a glance, is that, of course, a lot of this has to do with variation and also to do with the influence of, the contact languages that are, of course, involved in the localization of English. So linguistic borrowing is a factor, but also loan translation or true innovations. So this is the first attempt, and we'll see later how we will make sense of the contact scenario. What I will be using for 2 of the case studies is a model of idiom variability that has been proposed by Langlotz a few years ago, and this is based on cognitive linguistic approaches to idiom variation. And this tries to capture specific patterns along which idioms can be shown to vary, and to the degree that speakers manipulate and change idioms to express certain communicative needs and intentions. And in this model, 2 major processes can be identified. The first one is constructional adaptation, where basically a particular idiom can be modified systematically by means of lexicogrammatical and syntactic changes. So here you have 2 examples on the slide. So the idiom to have one's cake and eat it too, which basically means you cannot have the good things of something without maybe having to accept also the negative effects, is here in these 2 examples basically syntactically altered. So you can see in the first one, it's simply put into the past tense. So they had their cake and they ate it too. And in the second example, it's simply passivized. Once the cake is eaten, you cannot have it. So this is the first type of change that the model recognizes. But more interestingly, for our purposes, is the second one, namely conceptual specification and elaboration. So where the idiom is basically changed by means of lexical substitution or addition, and in that way, made more specific or, adapted to the communicative context. So you see in the first example, cake is replaced by pudding, and then in the second one, eat is replaced by munch it down. So you see more specific nouns or verbs can appear in the idiom. And in the third example, additional lexical material is added to make the idiom fit the specific context of the speaker. So having your public Medicare cake and eating your private feed too. And I'm interested in this kind of variability of idioms and later also proverbs. The assumption is that in the localization of English, such kind of variability will be used by speakers to fit idioms to the culturally, conceptually triggered contexts of use. Now, for idioms, interestingly, the little research that we do have has focused on African varieties of English. So there's a study by Fiedler and my own study that I will be reporting on pretty soon. And most recently, I have collaborated with Dr. Oyebola on a study that has appeared in World Englishes and that I will also be reporting on a bit later. Now, we have some pointers in the major research literature that idioms and collocations, for that matter, might be good starting points when we want to look at the process of nativization of post-colonial Englishes. Now, Schneider refers to collocational preferences and idiomatic phraseology when he says that they are extremely characteristic of post-colonial Englishes. He assumes that they indicate structural nativization on the lexical level, and may even result in completely novel collocations and phrases. And also for Nigerian English, in the landmark paper by Ayo Bamboshi, published in 1992, he also identifies linguistic markers of post-colonial Englishes when he says that most differences between Nigerian English and other forms of English are to be found in the innovations in lexical items and idioms and their meanings. So in the first case study, I was interested in the variability and innovation of idioms, and I was focusing here on one particular idiom, namely to bite off more than one can chew, which means to try to do more than you are able to do. And also in a specific group of idioms I refer to as pepper idioms because they feature the keyword pepper. Now I chose those because of the potential cultural specificity of lexical instantiations of food and eating. So we all know that the types of food and eating habits and everything around these concepts show great variation across cultures. So that's potentially a good starting point if you want to look at the cultural basis of idioms. And also because they are somewhat related to the metaphorical domain mapping of ideas or resources are food and getting is eating. And they also seem promising for studies and idioms, for studies on idioms and their metaphorical basis. I'll show that a bit later, what exactly I mean by that. Now here from a corpus linguistics point of view, first, a frequency diagram based on the corpus of global web-based English. So a large corpus, a large online corpus that gives data for 20 varieties of English, and Nigerian English is also one of those. And perhaps, surprisingly, you can see that it is Ghanaian English and Nigerian English that show the highest frequency for this particular idiom. And in that count, variants are already included, while some, Asian varieties, but also some, inner circle varieties, such as American or Canadian English, show a rather low frequency when compared to the West African Englishes. Now, more importantly, what we see in this slide is that the three African Englishes, they show a particular pattern of grammatical variation of that idiom, in that, the particle less variant is actually the majority variant. So I have an example here at the bottom of the slide. You see the last sentence. They have bit more than they can chew. where, the of, the particle, is not used deliberately. And this variant, a grammatical variant of that idiom, is actually, if you look at the table, the bottom of the table, is the majority variant in Nigerian English, in Ghanaian English, and Kenyan English. So it's 60% almost of the preferred choice in Nigerian English, above 90% in Ghanaian English, and around 55% in Kenyan English. So we see here that we also see some grammatical variation in idioms in African Englishes. What's, however, more interesting, I think, is lexical variation and innovation. And when you look at these examples here, which are all from another huge corpus of world Englishes, the Now corpus, which is the news on the web corpus, which also maps 20 different varieties of English and has largely data from online magazines and newspapers, you can see here that this particular idiom shows, when it comes to the key verbs that are involved, a great deal of variability, because other verbs that have to do with eating and digesting, so such as bite, chew, digest, eat, or swallow, can actually participate in this idiom. And in particular, those in 4 and 5 are tested approximately 15 times in the Now corpus for Nigerian English. And you might wonder, is that, what about that kind of frequency? Well, of course, it's fairly low frequency compared to the canonical form, to bite off more than one can chew. But of course, here we are interested in innovation. So, and innovation, of course, starts in the low frequency band. So I think, 15 times is quite something. And I'm wondering, what we will be observing in the future, whether we can see here that maybe Nigerian English will develop a particular, new variant. In any case, you can see this is highly interesting from the point of view of the impact of food and eating on lexical variation in such idiomatic constructions. Now, there's a more contextualized example I have here in example number 6 from The Guardian, Nigeria, which, as you can see here, uses all sorts of, lexical items, again, from eating and chewing, but also other words such as throat, fishbone, belly up, and so on. And of course, here it's again about funds. It's public funds, apparently. And of course, this reminds us of the conceptual mapping getting is eating. And I would like to, refer you to 2 recent entries in the Oxford English Dictionary, where in the first entry here, an additional sense for the verb eat is recorded, which is now chiefly attested in Nigerian English and East African Englishes. So to eat money in the sense of to acquire money dishonestly. And you see here in the first entry, there's also reference to the verb chop, the Pidgin English verb that also means eat. And you see then at the bottom of the slide, I have also provided that entry from the OED, where this is said to be attested in Ghanaian English and Nigerian English with the similar meaning. So to acquire money quickly and easily. So to eat money, to chop money, basically, as you can see, it has a metaphorical meaning in that it is motivated by the domain mapping getting is eating. And you see, I think, very nicely in example number 6, how that plays out lexically, not only in idioms, so bite more than you can chew or chew more than you can swallow, but also in metaphorical expressions, more generally. Now, the second part of this first case study was focusing on pepper idioms. And here I noticed in the descriptive literature on idioms in West Africa that pepper idioms are discussed, but are assumed to be not attested in other varieties. So here I have one example from a study that says that in educated Nigerian English, pepper has added metaphoric extension in that it is additionally used to denote punishment, a bad experience, suffering, inconvenience, trouble, a trying situation, etc. As in, I saw pepper on that day, or the man showed me pepper. So I got interested, and I used large corpora, the ones I just mentioned, so these large online corpora of varieties of English, to verify such claims about the occurrence and use of certain idioms. Because often, what we find in the published research literature, especially in those that were conducted, before corpora were available, that evidence and, what people report there is often of an anecdotal nature. And what I found in the literature was that the most often listed expressions were see pepper and smell pepper, with various meanings. So to be given a rough or raw deal, a tough time, to be in trouble, to get a shock. And in one publication, it was claimed that these might possibly be loan translations from Yoruba and were used earlier in Pidgin English and had now made its way into educated or standard Nigerian English. So I was interested in verifying this by going to the corpora. And interestingly, what you see here for the three idioms in question, see pepper, smell pepper, and show pepper, that see and smell pepper are most often referred to in the literature, but are those variants that hardly occur in the corpora, whereas show pepper, give someone a hard time or punish someone, is rarely, if at all, mentioned in the literature, but is actually, especially for Nigerian English, the idiom that is much more frequently attested in the corpus material. So I'm wondering, to what degree this could be said to be a signature idiom of Nigerian English, because I haven't found it used anywhere else in the World English's family. So when you hear somebody use it, it's most likely a speaker of Nigerian English. And what's interesting for the follow-up case studies I'll be talking about is that the assumed source of this idiom is the proverb, the Pidgin English proverb, if life they show you pepper, make pepper soup. If life shows you pepper, make pepper soup, which means make something good out of a bad experience. So, and here I have basically an ad I found for like a blender that also makes use of this particular kind of proverb. So we have here already some first evidence that there might be an interplay of proverbs and idioms, and also of language contact, between Pidgin English and maybe standard Nigerian English. Okay, then let's move on to the second part, the proverbs and their significance for the nexus of language and culture. Now, proverbs in the cognitive linguistic literature are also assumed to be metaphoric in nature, and they draw on a particular cultural model, the great chain of being, where the generic is specific metaphor provides a general mechanism for the understanding of something general in terms of the specific, which is one key feature of proverbs, as we will see later. Now, importantly, proverbs, they evoke cultural concepts and schemas, which are rich in imagery and information. So we find in them knowledge of common animals, of food and objects, or social situations. So they are a rich source of culture-specific lexis and conceptualizations. And you see here on the right-hand side of the slide some examples from the BBC News Pidgin Instagram account, where they regularly post such proverbs and where they also provide, visualizations or illustrations of these proverbs. Now, the assumption again is to remind you that in the localization of English, such cultural conceptualizations, which are primarily encoded in the indigenous languages, they will enter the local Englishes to express such same concepts and worldviews. And that's again my point of departure for the study of proverbs. Now, what about the significance of proverbs in the Nigerian context? Well, even the famous Chinua Achebe already mentioned that proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten. And of course, that says a lot about the use of proverbs. And as far as I know from research that has been published on the significance of proverbs in Nigeria is that they are a common speech strategy among speakers of Nigerian languages, especially the ethnic languages, which are rich in proverbs and illustrate the impact of folk culture and traditional wisdom of different cultural groups. So 2 studies from the early 90s here are particularly important. What's also important to remember is, because we have a language context situation, we frequently find calquing or loan translation from the indigenous languages into West African Pidgin English. And here, proverbs and idioms have been identified as a source of such loan translations. And in the study by Mensah, published in 2013, he found that, many Nigerian Pidgin English proverbs are actually sourced word for word from the indigenous languages. So in his collection, 15% of proverbs were actually rooted in the indigenous Nigerian languages. So in urban contexts, where indigenous languages perhaps no longer fulfill all communicative needs, proverbs carry over into Pidgin English, often, as I said, by means of loan translation, and they draw on the traditions and the cultural knowledge and wisdom of the different ethnic groups. However, it's important that, new proverbs will also be created that reflect the modern urban setting, and that's something I will come back to in a few minutes. Now, my starting point as a researcher who is based in Europe and who has not easily access to, of course, speakers of Nigerian Pidgin English is the way that world Englishes are increasingly used online in computer-mediated communication. And we have seen important studies also on Nigerian Englishes. So Hong Kong in 2020 published a book on language use on the Naraland Web Forum. We also see increasing research on the use of world Englishes in social media. And ever since the BBC News Pidgin service was introduced, and when their Instagram and Twitter service was published, I became interested in the proverbs which are posted on these social media. And interestingly, they also provide, if you wish, an extra value because they are often by the users also translated from the indigenous languages into Pidgin English and into Standard English, and also vice versa, because the speakers realize that they have a language and culture specific nature. So I think these online services, so the BBC News Pidgin service on Twitter and on Instagram, is for researchers interested in this kind of material a very valuable source, because you have direct access not only to the proverbs and the visualizations, as you can see here on the slide, but of course you have also access to the users' comments, because Instagram and Twitter, they are interactive social media services where users can also comment on the respective proverbs and can also post their own proverbs. So that's, from my point of view, from the nexus of language and culture, very interesting data. So the second case study, which looked at cultural conceptualizations in Nigerian Pidgin English proverbs, here my point of departure is that, again, proverbs are a type of culturally grounded and conceptually motivated figurative language, which is underexplored in linguistic research, especially from the point of view of the fluid continuum, the language contact continuum between the major indigenous Nigerian languages, Pidgin English, and of course the nativizing variety of Nigerian English. So for the study, I sourced 173 proverbs from the BBC News Pidgin's Instagram service that were posted between January 1st and June 30th last year. And I annotated these proverbs for major thematic groups that I could find in them. And by these thematic groups, I mean lexical material that points to particular schemas or particular kinds of knowledge about nature, about animals, objects, and social situations, because they, of course, reflect cultural categories as one type of cultural conceptualizations in the theory of cultural linguistics. So here on the slide, two examples for you. So in the proverb, and excuse my bad pronunciation, because of course I'm not a speaker of Nigerian Pidgin English, but in a proverb such as "Be no strong, but every strong animal for bush they run from 'em," Of course, here that was annotated as belonging to the thematic group of animals, whereas the second one, Okirika cloth, may be your own, better past peasant boutique cloth where you borrow. This was annotated as belonging to the group of material and social culture. And then in the third step, the proverbs were classified according to a particular system, the Matikusi International Type System of Proverbs, which basically is an annotation system or classification system that compares international proverbs and that aims to establish universals or archetypes of proverbs and human thinking. So it's, I think, a useful way of more systematically trying to annotate proverbs than maybe has been done, in previous studies. So here you see an overview of, first of all, the most frequent lexical words in the data set. On the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, you see a table of the most frequently occurring thematic groups. So you see here, in the left-hand word cloud, the bigger the word, the more frequently the word was used. So you see words that refer to people, such as pesin or pikin. You see also words that have to do with eating and drinking. So you have chop, you have water, and so on. You have also animal words like goat. You have things that have to do with money and other things. And the table on the right-hand side is a more condensed, a more clustered summary of the keywords. And you can see here the thematic groups that occur most frequently in these proverbs are animals, people and social interaction, food, eating and drinking, the human body, and then you see many others, but there's a list of maybe the top 4 or the top 5 thematic groups that frequently occur. So that in a way confirms our assumption that this is exactly, culture-specific information that we do find in these proverbs. Now here's a table. I'm not sure whether you can actually read this. I'm very sorry for the small print. It's basically, a summary of the categorization of the types of proverbs. And in the proverbs studied here, the summary would be that they primarily address social values and social interaction, but also concepts of learning, coping, and also of time. So we have some clusters here where we can say that some categories, in particular social life, social interaction, and so on, is something that is frequently being negotiated or illustrated in such proverbs. Now, quick discussion of the findings before I move on to the final case study. Importantly for Lexis, we have in Proverbs, unsurprisingly, by means of language contact and borrowing, variety-specific material. So ye or yibo, purge, bia, so many others. And Proverbs are also rich in culture-specific lexis, as I said, that encodes cultural knowledge and practice to do with, the local flora and fauna. So we have, as I said, many proverbs that have to do with animals and what animals do or how they behave. And 2 animals, for example, talk about the fact that goats like to eat yam or cassava leaves, so that we'll do something with a particular context if you're not aware of the fact that goats have this particular characteristic. We also have lexical items that refer to objects of material culture, such as clothing, and of course food items. So again, here eating and drinking, food items become important. We also see references to social culture, cultural practices, customs, rituals, and importantly, as I mentioned before, because we see that new proverbs are coined or existing proverbs are adapted to the challenges of the 21st century life in metropolitan urban settings. We also find more recent lexical material, fertilizer, alarm clock, TV, gym, different types of food, ambulance, car, and so on. So there's some evidence that also proverbs can innovate and can capture more modern concepts and necessities. Now, these two case studies, I think they can be combined, and I think I can show this now in this third case study that focused on Nigerian Pidgin English proverbs as a source of structural nativization in Nigerian English. And I'm very happy to emphasize that this is joint research with Dr. Folajimi Oyebola. So we carried out this research together, and it was just recently published in World Englishes, and I would very much like to thank Dr. Oyebola for his collaboration. He also helped me a lot with the previous case study on the cultural conceptualizations in the Nigerian Pidgin English proverbs. And he has been a postdoc, at my university until February this year. And I hope that he can make a return at some point and, again, be a collaborator here at my university. Now, the point of departure for this third case study is that, as we have seen earlier, proverbs seem to feed into idioms. So traditional proverbs and sayings are frequently truncated from their canonical, that is their full form, or from their earliest form, to create lower level grammatical units. And apparently this process is motivated, as many other processes of language change, by economy and ease of communication. So we have studies that suggest that the key lexical properties of proverbs are crucial for their recognizability, and Norik referred to this as the kernel, and that they may actually feed into the formation of lexically reduced and syntactically more condensed idiomatic expressions, also in language context situations. So here the point of interest is, to what degree are proverbs made easier, or are they truncated and formed into more condensed pieces of language, so that they might eventually then become idioms like the ones that we saw earlier. Now, for African Englishes, we have two studies that suggest something like that might be going on. There is a study by Fiedler published some years ago who looked at fixed expressions with the word monkey in African Englishes. She used the corpus of West African online newspapers. The majority of the expressions she identified were actually classified as proverbs, who were on their way of becoming idioms. And then my own study here, published in 2017, that I mentioned here earlier today in case study 1, where I looked at the idiom show pepper, which I argued, was a truncated form from the larger, more extensive Nigerian Pidgin English proverb, if life they show you pepper, make pepper soup. So I think you have a nice example already of how proverbs can be shortened, and the result of which might be an idiom. Now, in this study, we applied the cognitive principles of idiom variability that I mentioned before, and they were here applied to the analysis of proverbs. And as I said before as well, the variability of proverbs, they depend on the user's communicative needs and the context of usage. So different ways of changing the proverb can be used. So for example, lexical substitution, lexical modification, but also addition. But here we are, of course, also interested in the deletion of words, because we want to see how proverbs are shortened. So in summary, you could say here that what we're doing is it's a construction grammar approach to phraseological variation that accounts for creatively formed variants of idioms and proverbs. And here again, some examples for you to show you how things work and what we're interested in. So the full proverb here that is exemplified is, you can take the monkey out of the bush, but you cannot take the bush out of the monkey, which means you cannot deny or escape your true nature. And what you see in the example 7, 8, and 9 is that proverb can be altered in various ways. So in number 7, you can see that the syntactic structure is broken up. So you don't have like a complex syntactic structure, but you have individual main clauses. So take a monkey out of the bush will always remain in the monkey, and then they are put together for some kind of humorous effect. And you see in 8, we have a case of lexical substitution. So bush is substituted by zoo, and in 9 we have substitution, but also lexical addition. So bush is substituted by jungle, but you see other lexical material is added. So give it an education and never. So it's this kind of variability that we examined for a number of expressions in that case study. Now, our starting point was a published study on 100 Nigerian Pidgin English proverbs by Mensa. And what we did was we extracted lexical keywords from that set of 100 proverbs based on the lexical specificity. And we ended up with 4 keywords, namely chop, fire, gari, and monkey. And we used these 4 keywords as lexical anchors for searches of recurrent collocational patterns in yet another corpus, namely the Neraland corpus. Maybe some of you have heard about the corpus. Maybe some of you know the discussion forum. So it's basically a corpus that has been created from material that was posted on this general interest discussion forum for Nigerians and those from the worldwide diaspora of immigrants. I think in a book that Foluke edited last year, Honkanen and Alcon Lopez, they have a chapter that describes this particular corpus and its compilation. It's fairly big. It has, 143 million word tokens in size and consists of material posted between March 2005 and February 2014. So what we did for each of these 4 keywords, we did a manual search through the first 2,000 hits, and we arrived at a manageable set of collocates that we could then use in more targeted proximity searches. And we used a span of 5 words within the keyword and the collocate. An example here, so remember monkey was one of our keywords, and then we identified in the manual search catch as a keyword. So in the proximity search then, we were interested what kinds of expressions we would get when we would search for catch and monkey co-occurring within a span of 5 words. And you see here in the examples 10, 11, and 12, the kind of material you get. So you get something like softly catch monkey, or catch a monkey, throw him a banana, or to catch a monkey, you have to act like one. So you get this kind of, idiomatic phraseology by conducting these proximity searches. Now I have little time, and I would like to wrap up now. So unfortunately, I don't have the time to really go into that, highly interesting study in detail. But this paper and also the earlier paper on cultural conceptualizations in proverbs, they are available in open access, in the journal World English. So everybody who has a strong interest in maybe learning more about this, you are welcome in downloading the papers, but you can also email me and I'm happy to send you a copy. So just quickly, what we did was, of course, in analyzing this material, we looked at 3 dimensions. So I already mentioned substitution and specification, also mentioned addition, but here importantly, we were interested in reduction and densification. And here's a couple of examples that show you how this kind of reduction and densification works. So the canonical form would be remove the monkey's hand from the soup pot before it turns into a human hand, which means act before it's too late. And you see that this proverb is then rendered in various ways. So you could argue that in 13, you have more or less the full form. So this monkey hand in the soup, that is gradually turning to a human hand. But clearly in 14 and 15, that proverb has been much reduced. So the monkey's hand has turned into a human hand, or monkey hand in the soup in 15. So still the lexical keywords of the proverb, they are retained, but so that users who are familiar with the proverb, they can recognize it. But the full form, for reasons of economy, linguistic economy, is greatly reduced. So my argument would be here is that the idioms, are developing. So monkey hand or monkey hand in soup will be the result of the truncated form of this proverb. Now again, quickly, on the basis of one particular proverb, a summary and maybe an indication of how widespread variability is in this material. So here we looked at the proverb, monkey they work, baboon they chop. and we summarized the different forms of variability that we could find. And and the variability is almost 50%. So you can say that, almost 50% of the instances we found for this proverb show variability in one form or another. And for reduction and densification, we found almost 19% in the whole data set. So I think this is really something that is quite substantial. Okay, now for conclusion. I hope I have shown that the case studies that I have presented can help to shed some light on a relatively underexplored force and context of structural nativization of World English, namely culturally grounded and conceptually motivated figurative language. And I have exemplified this on the basis of idioms and proverbs. Now, Nigeria is a highly interesting context to study this because the localization of English is subject to language contact in this fluid continuum between the major indigenous languages, Nigerian Pidgin English, and the nativizing variety of Nigerian English. And proverbs and that online material that I have used, I think, is a great source for culture-specific lexis because it reflects the linguistic impact of folk culture and traditional wisdom, but at the same time shows that proverbs can be adapted and can reflect the challenges of modern urban contexts. Now, finally, then, in the last case study and also a little bit in the first case studies, I think we have reason to assume, and it would be great, of course, to see more research along these lines, that culturally, conceptually motivated lexis that is, for example, used in Nigerian Pidgin English proverbs can feed into the development of an idiomatic phraseology of Nigerian English. And we have also seen that it has the basis for the formation of lexically variable and sometimes more condensed idiomatic expressions. Now here quickly my references, and I would like to thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, dear colleagues, distinguished fellows, members of our association, Madam President, we thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you for the honor of having me here. I know we've been on this for a long time. You will not allow me to rest. You just said I must not be here. And they have to just push aside other important things to come. My pleasure to see all of you. My pleasure to be with you. And I believe that the very few things we are going to share together will add value to what other colleagues are doing in this field. What I will do this morning, still morning, yes. What I will do this morning is to just run through the slides, and then I will come back because it's an address, so it's not a workshop. So I will just go through what I have here, and then once in a while I may illustrate with the slides. But what I have, okay, that's the main frame. Okay, I have the introduction. Okay, the humanities as endangered disciplines. Okay, essential role of the humanities, technology and humanities stemming the decline and bridging the gap, the influence of technology in the humanities, corpus linguistics and digital humanities. Okay, you see that then you are familiar with word class, so just to illustrate, you are familiar with this tool, keyword and context analysis. Okay, that's another software that I may likely mention in the course of, many of you may just be getting to know MassQDA for the first time. I don't know if you are familiar with it. We use it for a TEDFund project that we just completed. Then we have other tools for keyword analysis. You have that for sentiment analysis. You are familiar with various tools already. And then we have some details. Then this is very important. I will spend some time looking at illustrating with some analysis using literary works. We'll see this, how that is done.
and then Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities tools, and then some of the tools, opportunities and possibilities we have in the two fields, providing new oxygen for the humanities, and then possible areas of research, enhancing humanities scholarship and social development through Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities, then Corpus Linguistics and Humanities, then benefits of the synergy, and then I will conclude. Hopefully, I believe I can just run through this. Back to the first slide. Okay, so thank you once again for having me here. And then I believe in the next couple of minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, I will be through with this. Now, as the world continues to experience an unprecedented revolution in the potential and capacity of new technology to reshape and recalibrate different aspects of our lives and living, research work and scholarship across different disciplines are harnessing the enormous power of this technology to redefine and retool their approaches and methodology, as well as enhance the social impact of their activities. Okay? Happily and significantly, the traditional humanities disciplines are beginning to benefit from this new technology through advances in corpus linguistics and digital humanities. I call them sibling disciplines, interrelated. This lecture argues that initiative and advances in these interrelated fields in the global north and global south in the last 2 decades have shown that CL and DH have become tools through which we can revolutionize the way research, scholarship, and social entrepreneurship initiatives are pursued and executed. These fields now draw tools and techniques from and combine the power of computer science and this technology to study humanities theories, natural and born digital cultural material, and social data. And they now help us to analyze vast amounts of text data. They help us to uncover patterns. They help us to gain insights that were previously inaccessible through traditional methods. It is anticipated that as we explore this high energy, anchored on the significance of corpus linguistics and digital humanities, we can discover the vast potential of tools that are now available for research, scholarship, and social good. We argue that the growing interest in these studies have the power to transform the potential of what we do in the humanities. I believe that these fields can rejuvenate traditional humanities disciplines which have been facing decline due to various factors, such as ill-advised government policy, overemphasizing STEM disciplines, self-inflicted humanities stereotypes, and self-defeatist attitude by ourselves. Okay? Many times we underestimate what we can do as humanities scholars. But I believe with CL and GH, we are beginning to have a rethink of the power, the potential that we have. As submitted in some excellent literature, the integration of technology to humanity research not only enhances methodologies, but also enriches the understanding of cultural and social phenomena. This lecture argues that technology is revolutionizing the humanity, creating opportunities, and empowering a new generation of humanity graduates and scholars. Now, let me quickly look at the essential role of the humanities. Nobody should be in doubt about the fact that despite the challenges humanity face in the 21st century digital era, they remain crucial for a well-rounded functioning society. From time immemorial, humanities are in the forefront of providing insight into the human condition, reflecting on our histories, on our cultures and values. Literature, for example, allows us to explore different experiences and perspectives, fostering empathy and understanding among diverse populations. Philosophy encourages critical inquiry and ethical reasoning, essential for navigating contemporary moral dilemmas. While history, for those of you in history enables us to reflect on the past, to learn from our mistakes, and to intelligently engage with the present
in order to chart a new path for the future. What about linguistics and languages? They give us tools not only for identity and cultural expression. They provide communication facility to foster unity and progress in every aspect of human endeavor. The humanities, therefore, help us to cultivate a sense of identity and belonging. They help us to understand our place within the broader scope and build the nation of human experience, making sense of the past, defining and directing the present, while informing our future. In a globalized world, where cultural exchanges are more prevalent than ever, the study of the humanities can bridge divides and promote mutual respect and understanding. Scholars such as O'Halloran, Golovina et al., Giordano 2010, have affirmed that the humanities are increasingly recognized for their essential role in fostering critical thinking, empathy, and cultural understanding. Despite facing challenges such as budget cuts and declining enrollment, the humanities provide insight into the human condition, reflect on history, cultures, and values. This is crucial for navigating contemporary moral dilemmas and fostering a sense of identity and belonging within society. The decline of the humanities. Although the humanities have long been recognized for their essential role in fostering a well-rounded society, the last couple of years have been very tough and challenging for these mothers of all disciplines as they face the threat of being neglected, being ignored, and becoming extinct within the larger academic disciplines in higher educational institutions across the world. Overemphasis on STEM disciplines, low enrollment, gradual loss of interest among prospective students, self-inflicted laid-back attitude of researchers in humanity, complacency, and drastic cut in public funds for this discipline are among the challenges facing humanities in higher institutions. In the global north, especially, I don't know whether you are reading, especially in North America and Europe, humanities, this department and programs are shrinking, are being neglected, or in some colleges in the US, they are completely scrapped as a result of low enrollment and dwindling funding from government or the authorities in charge of those colleges and universities. Fears and trepidation are gripping our colleagues because they are losing their tenureship or jobs. This shifting priority within education institutions are affecting humanities. Universities often relying on funding and enrollment numbers have increasingly emphasized programs that promise immediate economic returns. As a result, humanity departments are getting reduction in faculty position, and then they are facing challenges. Students are frequently encouraged. Parents are encouraging their children, and others are guidance are encouraging them to pursue degrees that provide practical experience. Okay, that they emphasize interest in subjects like literature, philosophy, history, and the arts. The unprecedented rise in employers' preference for graduates with data analytics and software engineering skills is another contributing factor. And because our world has become increasingly driven by technology and employer of labor, and prospective employees prefer to focus on such jobs due to rapid returns in investment. No, I've not come to this slide, so don't worry, I will take care of that. The unprecedented rise in employers' preference for graduates with data analytics and software engineering skills is another contributing factor. And because our world has become increasingly driven by technology, employers of labor and prospective employees prefer to focus on such jobs due to the rapid returns in investment and attractive remuneration. All these have compounded the woes of the humanities, making students to shun the discipline. The humanities are often viewed as less relevant or even superfluous. Okay? Now, what are the implications of this declining interest? I mentioned some of them. Experts believe that the implications of a declining humanity presence are profound and multifaceted. First, the erosion of this discipline threatens to limit critical thinking and the ability to engage with complex society issues. The humanities teach students to analyze text, to understand diverse perspectives, and cultivate empathy skills that are essential for effective citizenship and social cohesion. Without a robust foundation in the humanities, our society risks fostering a populace ill-equipped to navigate the moral and ethical dilemmas that arise in an increasingly interconnected world. The decline of the humanities can lead to a homogenization of thought as ethnic institutions prioritize vocational training. That's a danger of producing graduates who are technically proficient but lacking in creativity, innovation, and the ability to question the status quo. The humanities encourage exploration. That's the beauty of our discipline. Encourage imagination and the question of existing paradigm, qualities that are essential for addressing the complex challenges of this century, such as climate change, social justice, and others. Although we face these issues, these challenges, okay, we provide the tools that can help, our society, and then we know that we can, fight back to keep the humanities in the mainstream of relevance in the knowledge economy, outside development, and the promotion of global peace. Two voices, listen very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, two voices from within the academy that can fight that battle professionally, intellectually, and with data-driven evidence of success and impact remain digital humanities and corpus linguistics. Let me have your hand. So you're in the right place. You're in the right field. Now, technology to the rescue. As we move forward, it is imperative that we advocate the value of the humanities, ensuring that they remain a vital part of our educational landscape and cultural discourse. The good news here is that the humanities can never be obliterated as long as human science survives. In fact, without the huge opportunity that technology offers humanity to rejuvenate and retool itself, traditional humanities will continue to retain its relevance. In an opinion editorial titled "Why Humanities Are Vital, Not Just Science" by Professor Jonathan Michie, Oxford University, published just a few days ago, thereabout, on 14 August in UK Guardian newspaper, he advises government to promote the study of all disciplines to improve workforce skills. He argues that, I quote, to contribute at work and in society more generally requires capabilities such as critical thinking offered by humanity, imagination offered by humanity, communication, alongside technical skills. Humanities and social sciences are therefore vital, along with science and engineering, unquote. After citing examples where science worked with humanity to achieve outstanding research outcomes, one typical example cited was the development of the world's first digital programmable computer, Colossus, at Bletchley Park by Alan Turing and others, I think around the 50s. They recruited scholars and researchers from all disciplines to achieve this feat. By the same token, Steve Jobs, you remember Steve Jobs? That's the co-founder of Apple, of blessed memory. Himself had it to say about the key and critical role of humanity in developing Apple products. I quote, "It is in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the result that make our hearts sing." That was in 2011 when he was launching the iPad 2. The New Yorker newspaper provides an objective and independent opinion on another Steve Jobs comment 2 years after by publishing a piece that incorporated this. I quote, "What set all of Jobs' company apart, from Pixar to Nexus to Apple, was indeed an insistence that computer scientists must work together with artists and designers, that the best ideas emerge from the intersection of technology and the humanities." Shall we clap ourselves? Thank you very much. One of the greatest achievements at Pixar was that we brought these two cultures together, humanities and science. humanity and technology together and got them working side by side. That was in 2013. So there are people that recognize the importance of what we are doing now, here, long ago. Professor Michi concluded the short piece by submitting that government needs to promote the study of all disciplines and promote interdisciplinary research. Now, what are we talking about? How can technology and humanities bridge the gap? The era of digital humanities continue to accelerate and spread across the world. A lot of sectors and human spheres have been impacted. Notably, the humanities disciplines are also being impacted by this new technology. It has been observed that the emergence of digital humanities has thrown more light on the importance of the interplay between technology and humanities. We are witness to how advancements in technology are now reshaping the way we live, the way we communicate and think. Since the humanities offer essential insight into the human experience, ethics, and cultural context, technology appears to be fueling the synergy by fostering a more holistic understanding of our world. And helping to interrogate this issue with a more objective, intuitive, and critical analysis mechanisms. Scholars and researchers in the humanities are beginning to recognize this nexus by exploring and acknowledging how technology has begun to transform the humanity by providing new tools and methodology for research, for analysis, and for dissemination. These humanities has become a fast-paced growing field that sits at the intersection of technology and humanity, and it utilizes computer tools to analyze vast amounts of textual and cultural data. A range of possibilities are now available. For instance, technologies such as for data mining, data visualization, machine learning, natural language processing, AI, are being utilized to enhance textual analysis to enable researchers to uncover patterns and insights that will be difficult to discern through traditional methods. Social media platforms and digital storytelling tools have also transformed how narratives are constructed and shared, allowing for diverse voices and perspectives to reach broader audiences. While technology contributes to the humanities are also contributing to technology, helping to develop a symbiotic relationship that possibly impact our modern society. And we have a number of examples that we can cite. Against this background, therefore, it is incumbent on us to reflect on the growth of digital humanities and corpus linguistics across the world, and now it has become increasingly important to amplify and work towards a more intensive collaboration between technology and humanities. This interdisciplinary synergy and dialogue can become more critical to address the challenges in the area of preservation of our cultural heritage, corruption and financial crime, dysfunction in governance, climate change, social inequality, and political unrest. Experts believe that the integration of technical competence and skills with humanistic inquiry can lead to more complex solutions. Collaborative projects can bring together those in digital technology and computer science and creative writers, moral philosophy, historians, and artists to develop innovation and technology for social growth that is sensitive to cultural context and human needs. Now, localizing these humanities initiatives. Now, in recognizing the growing trend and in the adoption promotion of the principles and principles of these humanities and corpus linguistics for social development across the world, we are happy, and it is mentioned earlier, we are happy to acknowledge and applaud the recognition, given to our pioneering effort in this humanity by the Nigerian University Commission, who has now introduced the teaching of courses in humanities into a new curriculum of university nationwide. From the 2024-25 academic year, universities all over Nigeria will commence DH as a course for first year or second year students, as the case may be. Thank you very much. This initiative has further accentuated the relevant and critical role that this interdisciplinary program will come to play in preparing and equipping graduates in the humanities with relevant digital analytic tools and skills to meet the challenges of 21st century workplace. It also means that corpus linguistics as a sibling discipline, we come to go hand in hand. I believe this is just in line with the global best practice, where in some other climes, there are programs that combine STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, with the humanities. And as a new nomenclature now, STEAM, okay, science, technology, the arts, and mathematics, that are now gaining traction. Susan Riley describes STEAM education as an educational approach now, an educational approach to learning that uses science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics as access points for guiding student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. Jonathan Layton of San Diego University also says, at the educational workplace, I quote, explore strategies to equip students with the skills and knowledge they will need to be successful innovators in the 21st century workforce. There has been a growing emphasis on STEAM, the educational discipline that engages students around the subject of science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we are talking about is the fact that, what we are doing, we are just, in line with what is going on all over the world. Whether you are working there of CL or DH, then we are promoting, we are in the forefront of promoting this team, phenomenon now in this part of the world. Many educational experts regard STEAM as an essential component of 21st century education. Why? According to the U.S. Department of Education, I quote, in an ever-changing, increasingly complex world, it's more important than ever that our nation's youth are prepared to bring knowledge and skills to solve problems, to make sense of information, to know how to gather and evaluate evidence to make decisions. That is what CL and DH, within the framework of STEM education, that's what we provide. According to additional STEM and STEAM, graduates play a vital role in developing meaningful solutions to social problems, such as the role they played during COVID-19, and how they got color from these different disciplines to provide, to provide solutions to some of the health problems. Now, let me go to section 3, Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities as revolutionary synergy. Devoted from the interaction between humanities and technology are two interrelated disciplines. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, are two interrelated disciplines in the humanities, Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities. Both fields rely heavily on computer methods and digital tools to explore, to study, and analyze cultural and social data. These two fields have become the game changer in the humanities by redefining and recalibrating the processes and products of knowledge production and knowledge dissemination, among other impactful benefits. I'm not going to spend time because our colleagues have already defined corpus linguistics, they've defined DH, but let me just quickly re-emphasize that CL, corpus linguistics, is often described the study of language or any discourse material or body of humanistic data as expressed in corpora of real-world text. It involves the systematic analysis of large collection of text to uncover patterns, to uncover trends, frequency, and regularities and structure in language use or in the data. And then digital humanities, on the other hand, encompasses the application of computer methods and tools to explore large body of text and provide objective, listen very carefully, to provide objective and empirically verifiable answer to humanistic research questions, including the study of literature, history, and more. And then there are other definitions of this having. Essentially, both fields involve the use of computer tools to analyze linguistic and discourse patterns in any social and communicative event. They can also be used in various fields, including lexicography, language teaching, and social linguistics. Deploying corpus analytic tools, for instance, can help to analyze features such as word frequency, collocations, and syntactic structure. We've seen some of them. Such techniques can provide empirical evidence to support literary interpretation and cover pattern not easily noticeable through traditional analysis, and they allow for comparison of different texts or authors. To engage in a beneficial CL and DH for rejuvenating humanities scholarship, corpus construction appears to be one of the most popular techniques. In corpus construction, what do we do? Number one, there'll be selection of what you want to do. You choose the text that are representative of the genre or author you are studying. Number two, you go through digitization, converting the text into a digital format for analysis. Number three, you do annotation by adding metadata to the text, such as tagging, part of speech, and other features. Scholars can then proceed to another important stage by using corpus analytical tools, such as ANCONC, such as ANCONC, wordsmith tools, sketch engine to explore a range of objectives and goals of the research. Actually, your research objective will determine the kind of tools you want to use and the kind of approach you will adopt. Now, sketch engine, for instance, may provide the significance of the frequency, throwing more light on the occurrences. Bowen tools may even provide sentiment analysis to demonstrate the tone and the mood that accompany the occurrences of the word. For collocation analysis, this can help us to study the co-occurrence of words to understand their contextual relationship. In this concordance analysis, it can help us to examine closely the context in which specific words or phrases appear. ANCON, for instance, we highlight these keywords and context in which they occur. This may help analysts to dig deeper into the context and the surrounding discursive elements that may help to interpret the words and motive for the discursive pattern in the data. This software can help research to identify authorial style and authorship attribution. That is, how distinctive linguistic features of authors can create a unique identity for the authors. We can also use CL to resolve disputed authorship based on manuscripts discovered without any author markers on them. I wouldn't know whether you follow. Recently, not too long ago, this controversy between Adichie and Achebe. I don't know how many of us you are aware of that. And then one was accusing the other of, what CL can do, is to help us to uncover patterns that can actually attribute who exactly is the owner of that manuscript. So it's very so there is a lot of benefit in being in this discipline and then of course pursuing your research in this area. This approach can also be used for thematic analysis in the text. We can explore recurring themes and motifs in the text. This can then be compared with the survey pattern in the author's previous work. CL can help in genre analysis by comparing linguistic features of different genres. You can look at poetry, drama, and I will illustrate with some examples very, very soon. CL can help to identify genre-specific convention through a process of pattern recognition, identifying and mapping specific distinctive features in different literary works. Within this context, one can identify the linguistic features that distinguish poetry from prose. By adopting corpus linguistic approach, we must create the corpora of both the prose and the poetry and the prose. In previous projects, researchers compared the frequency of different word classes, sentence length, and other stylistic markers. By analyzing the data, researchers found that poetry tends to have a higher frequency of adjectives, higher frequency of adverbs, and sensory imagery compared to prose. Additionally, poetry often employs shorter, more rhythmic structure. Of course, you can agree with that. I mean, your experience in English literature. A project on author attribution done in the United States not too long ago also provides some interesting findings. In the Federalist Papers project, there was a dispute about who are the authors of these papers. Okay, so the authorship of several of the Federalist Papers, a series of essays
proposition was disputed. By applying corpus linguistic approach, researchers analyzed the frequency of functional words in the collection of those manuscripts or the essay, prepositions, conjunctions, sentence length, and other silent markers in known essays of those authors Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. These patterns were then compared to the disputed papers. In the findings, they discovered that by statistically comparing linguistic features, researchers were able to attribute specific papers to their correct authors with high accuracy. That's the beauty of what we are doing in CL and what you can do in CL. We can also cite another important example using Virginia Woolf's work. Those of you that are in literature, you know Virginia Woolf. The first thing researchers did was to create a corpus that will include all of Woolf's major novels, short stories, and essays, in order to capture the stylistic nuances. It might be beneficial to create some corpus based on specific periods or genre of our work. Now, how did they do that? Number one, they did keyword analysis. They identified the words that are statistically more frequent in specific periods of Virginia Woolf's writing, and how that reveals the shift in thematic focus and vocabulary. For instance, analyzing keywords in early works like Mrs. Dalloway compared to later works like To the Lighthouse will highlight changes in her exploration of consciousness and time. Collocation analysis. By examining the words that frequently occur together, you are able to provide insight into the Woolf's stylistic preferences and how they evolve. For example, studying the collocation of time in different works of that author will reveal in her perception and represent of time, how she represented time in the works. In terms of grammatical analysis, they analyze sentence structure, parts of speech, and other grammatical features so that can illuminate shifts in Woolf's prose style. For instance, comparing the average sentence length and complexity in early and later works will reveal a growing experimentalism in our later writing. In terms of discourse analysis, they look at how Virginia Woolf uses language to construct meaning and how that can provide insight into our evolving worldview. For instance, analyze the use of pronouns and point of view can reveal shifts in her representation of character and subjectivity. What are the possible findings by following this kind of approach? By applying this method, researchers might discover, number one, a gradual increase in the use of free indirect discourse, reflecting Virginia Woolf's deepening exploration of consciousness. Number two, a shift from traditional narrative structure to more experimental form, as evidenced by changes in sentence structure and paragraphing. Number three, a growing emphasis on sensory imagery and metaphor, as Woolf's style becomes more poetic and impressionistic as the work evolves. Number four, variations in the use of pronouns and point of view, reflecting changes in the characterization and narrative perspective. By quantifying these side changes, corpus linguistics can provide a solid empirical foundation for literary analysis, allowing for more detailed and objective interpretation of Woolf's work. Now, let me take some examples from Nigeria. Let's assume that I want to look at themes, time themes in the work of Chinua Achebe, Ben Okri, and Chimamanda Adichie. How did the concept of time, history, and memory manifest in the work of these three authors? Number one, you have to do a corpus construction. You build a robust corpus that will involve, you select works from these authors. Okay? Novels, short stories, and plays from each of them. In order to interrogate specific time themes much deeper, you can create a short corpus, okay, based on historical period or particular works focused on time. How do you go about that? Number one, keyword analysis. Identify words related to time, e.g., the word past, future, memory, history, time. And their frequency can reveal how much emphasis each of the author places on temporal dimensions. In terms of collocation analysis, we can examine words that frequently appear with time-related terms that can provide insight into how time is conceptualized and experienced in the text. And then we can analyze the collocation of past, how that might reveal when it's associated with nostalgia, trauma, or progress. In terms of concordance analysis, we can examine the context of specific time-related words and how that can provide a deeper and clearer understanding of how time is used in different narrative contexts in the world. In terms of discourse analysis, we can analyze how time is represented in dialogue, in narration, and plot structure, and that can reveal author's perspectives on time and its impact on character. Now, what are the findings that we may likely come up with for Chinua Achebe? Given his focus on pre-colonial and colonial Africa, Achebe's works might show a strong emphasis on historical time, with keywords like tradition, ancestor, colonialism being prominent. For Ben Oakley, we can find out this is known for magical realism. For those of you in the literature, you know that Oakley's work might exhibit a fluid and non-linear conception of time, with keywords like dream, spirit, and myth being frequent in his work. For Adichie, what would that reveal? As a contemporary writer, Adichie's work might explore the complexity of present time and its relation to the past, with keywords like history, memory, identity being central. So there are several themes I have here, themes of colonialism in the works and what they can reveal, themes of, themes of memory and history, and then themes of identity in Chimamada's work, and on. Essentially, one can see that by adopting the approaches of we can get a better understanding, a better and richer understanding of the ways in which the themes are conceptualized and how they shape African experiences and identity in this work. I want to move to let me just take one more. For example, analyzing characterization in the age of Corpus Linguistics. It's also possible to analyze characterization. For instance, let's pick half of a yellow sun. Okay? To analyze characterization in half of a yellow sun, using Corpus Linguistics, you can focus on the following: keyword analysis. Okay? We can identify keywords associated with the main character or Nana, keyword character, or Nana, Irene, or Denigo, and other. We can compare the treatment of this keywords to understand the character development and relationship. For example, words like independent, passionate, intellectual, but associated with Onana. Why traditional, by character, and strong, to be linked to Irene. In terms of colloquial analysis, we can examine words that frequently occur with character names to understand their roles and relationships. For instance, by analyzing collocation of Onana, we might reveal a connection to intellectual pursuits, while collocation of Ainana might highlight our ties according to tradition and family. We can also do part of speech analysis. We can analyze the distribution of parts of speech in dialogue of different characters to understand their speech patterns and personality traits. For example, a character with a high frequency of adjective and adverb might be perceived as aggressive, or as expressive rather, not aggressive, as expressive or emotional, while a character with a higher proportion of noun and verb might be seen as more direct or practical. You can also do this analysis to unveil the character of the novel. So, we can analyze use of politeness markers, use of speech arts, tone taking to understand how characters assert their authority or their difference. What do we find? What can we find? the evolution of character, evolution of character.
Thank you. So what can we find? We can find the evolution of character, personalities, and relationships over the course of the memory. The ways in which language is used to reinforce or challenge gender roles and stereotypes. The impact of historical events on character development and interaction. The linguistic markers of character conflict and resolution. We can do a lot of things with CL and GH. I want to begin to close by looking at, connected to the foregoing in the capacity of the tools to explore stylist analysis in the text. This may involve analyzing language choices of authors, the diction, the syntax, the use of figurative language. They can help to unveil or reveal the effect of style on meaning and interpretation. Corpus linguistics can be applied to enhance the teaching of literature by providing concrete examples of linguistic features. And of course, it supports scholarly research by offering a data-driven approach to literary studies and discourse analysis. We can do additional things, add metadata, corpus analysis, using software to analyze corpus data. We can use for data interpretation. There are several other things we can do. And I go to section 4 of my presentation. Okay, let me stay here. Now, okay, now I've just gone through this. Okay, section 4. Now, in this section, I try to actually present some tools that you may find very useful, and then with some explanation of what they do. Anconc, Wordsmith tools, Sketch Engine, W Matrix, Clause, and then Max Q. So there are hundreds of tools that are available. Well, some of them, for you to get the best from them, you may need to pay because they are licensed. The free tools are limited. Now, opportunities and possibilities in corpus linguistics and digital humanities. From the foregoing, one can see the possibilities and opportunities in CL and GH that they provide for scholars in the humanities. One of the key advantages of this CL and GH is the availability of tools that one can use to process massive amounts of textual data quickly and efficiently. Researchers can use specialized software to search, annotate, and analyze text on a scale that would be impossible for human to achieve manually. This scalability enables scholars to uncover hidden patterns and connections within the text, leading to new discoveries and interpretation that will amaze even the authors. Corpus Linguistics and Digital promote interdisciplinary collaboration by bringing together experts from various fields, such as linguistics, computer science, literature, history, and sociology. By combining their expertise, researchers can address complex research questions that require a multifaceted approach. This interdisciplinary synergy leads to richer insight and a more comprehensive understanding of the phenomena under study. So, how does DH provide new oxygen for the humanities? Okay, providing new oxygen for the humanities. It has been argued that this technology now offers amazing and productive tools to scholars in the human sciences, such as linguistics, literature, history, philosophy, creative arts, music, to re-examine traditional humanity data for new insight, for innovation, and new research and social benefit. DH have been described as an interdisciplinary field that applies tools in computer science to traditional humanity disciplines such as literature and so on. DH encompasses a wide range of activities, from digitizing historical text to using digital visualization techniques to explore cultural data. Now let me quote Basile et al. Do I have it? Yes, 2017. Says, dear scholars, how they can use the power of technology to transform the role of traditional humanities in society. Digital humanities might enhance the excellent impact of humanity research. More specifically, the commitment to public engagement. It is not just analyzing text and doing this and analysis. No, we also have that social benefit that we can contribute. Okay, more strength to the commitment to public engagement by means of strategic opportunities offered by digital techniques. To pursue this objective, intermediation seems necessary in order to switch on the humanity within society. The value of a digital approach lies in its usability, in the traditional tools that it helps to supply. These humanities are analyzed in the concept of humanities and beyond the academic realm in their targeting of diverse recipients external to the scientific community. Dutch 2023 asserts that DH is a comparative new area of study that combines the traditional strength of humanities with the strength of modern information and language technology. It says further, this opens up an interactive interface for the new generation of scholars to enable them to extend their studies and research of humanities under a digital platform, and it gives them the power to apply traditional skills of the humanities, that is critical thinking, to understand digital culture while learning how this technology can enable them to explore the key question in the humanities. It is an alternative way of doing scholarship in humanity that involves collaborative, transdisciplinary, and technology analysis, research, development, teaching, resource generation, and making them available for the new generation of users. Now, the possible area of research that I've mentioned can do create corpus, data mining, data storytelling, data visualization, and so on. Now, as I conclude the last session, enhancing humanities scholarship. Okay, enhancing humanities scholarship and societal development through CL and DH. Excellent literature provides some very interesting benefits of both CL and DH. Number one, example in linguistic research. Okay. Number two, examples in literary analysis. There are details here. I won't be able to read everything. Number three, example in historical studies. Number four, example in education. Let me take in the field of education, for instance, Corpus Linguistics has been integrated to language teaching and learning. Teachers use corpora to create language exercises and material that reflect authentic language use in different contexts. Students can explore real-life examples of language patterns, idiomatic expression. We just listen to one now. Collocation. Enhancing their language proficiency and cultural awareness. Number five. Example in social media analysis. Okay, we can see to identify trends in public sentiments, to detect emerging issues, and to track the spread of misinformation. CL and DH can help us to do that. Okay, this information can be used to inform public policy decisions, to improve crisis response strategies, and to promote digital literacy among the public. Number six, example in public discourse analysis. By studying speeches and debates and policy documents, using CL of DH method, scholars can uncover rhetorical strategies, ideological biases, and linguistic framing techniques employed by political actors. These analyses can contribute to a more nuanced understanding of political communication and help citizens to critically evaluate information from media sources. Number seven, preservation of indigenous languages. By compiling and analyzing text in this language, researchers can document linguistic structure and vocabulary and cultural knowledge. This preservation effort can help to revitalize indigenous languages, promote cultural heritage, and foster pride among local communities. Number eight, health communication awareness. Okay, we can use DH tools or CL tools to facilitate the analysis of health-related texts and public health campaigns in Nigeria. Researchers can use Corpus Linguistics to study the effectiveness of health communication strategies, identifying common misconceptions about diseases, and tailor health message to specific target audiences. This approach can improve health literacy, can encourage preventive behavior, and can contribute to better health outcomes in the Nigerian population. Then, next one, political discourse analysis. An area which I've done a number of works. By examining language use in political discourse, researchers can uncover patterns of persuasion, manipulation, and bias. This analysis can promote transparency, accountability, and inform citizens by helping citizens to critically evaluate political messaging and make well-informed choices or decisions during election. Education and language learning. CL and DH can also contribute. Then, for literary and cultural studies, DHCA can contribute to social media analysis, we can also contribute to that. Then there are several others. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about the fact that DH and CL, they go together to not only improve scholarship, they can also improve our society. We can have improved research analysis, we can have data visualization, data research environment, and collaborative research, preservation and accessibility, enhanced sexual analysis, interdisciplinary research, accessibility and preservation, effective research management, public engineering outreach, I've mentioned that, and then another benefit. Now, John Keating, before I close, summarizes some of the obvious benefits of DH. We have said that, number one, DH now help us to generate, to use, and adopt new tools to mediate knowledge within humanities scholarship. Number two, helps us to generate new knowledge. Okay, we see a lot of solutions that we can provide. We have a lot of opportunities in this new area. Now, it has accessibility, data visualization, as I mentioned earlier. In conclusion, in this lecture, I've shown how approaches, techniques, and tools in corpus linguistics and digital can rejuvenate and recruit the humanities discipline. The address also underscores the importance of interdisciplinary approaches, particularly the synergy between technology and humanities. Apart from demonstrating how these tools can help to analyze large body of data objectively and in a more engaging manner. CL and DH are also democratizing knowledge and enabling collaborative research across disciplines. Technology such as artificial intelligence and on they can provide that. This essay therefore poses that humanity, far from being obsolete, can thrive through the integration of technology and the interdisciplinary research. By embracing this humanity and corpus linguistics, traditional humanity discipline can enhance their relevance and impact in a rapidly changing world. This synergy not only preserve the essence of the humanities, but also position them as vital contributors to addressing contemporary societal challenges. Although the relation between them may appear complex, but we can take advantage of what they offer, challenges and future direction. While it is given that corpus linguistics and DH offer some promise and benefit, there are challenges to this integration. One major issue is the need for specialized skills in both computer methods and humanities scholarship. And I'm happy that you're all here. So you take advantage of the training to acquire the skill and then to update your knowledge. The ethical consideration of deciding and analyzing texts, particularly those that are culturally sensitive, must be addressed. As we continue to explore the interconnection between technology and humanity, and seek to expand the frontiers of research and knowledge production in this field, we must put on the front burner the continued development of user-friendly tools and platforms that can make this method and technology access to a broader range of scholars. Furthermore, it will be crucially important to continue to organize and sustain internet training and capacity building programs such as workshops, colloquiums, summer school that will continue to be the platform where we can equip researchers with necessary skills, leverage this synergy effectively. Conferences of this nature that we are here, and those on digital humanities must be organized more frequently to provide the avenue for training, for capacity building, for peer review, for collaboration, and for collective actions to develop policy framework that will globalize activities and initiatives for the benefit of the larger society. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best during this process. Thank you very much.
No, first of all, I want to thank the organizers of this program and for the privilege offered me to present here. So I regard it a rare privilege. So I feel honored by the invitation. And most importantly, I want to thank my mentor, my main mentor, that's Professor Okpe Davis. Then we used to call him Professor Okpe. Yeah, and there is no way I can talk about my adventure into digital humanities without having a mention of him all the time. It's not about hero worshiping, it's not about praise singing alone, but it's about the reality of somebody who has really impacted you. My PhD was in medical pragmatics and discourse analysis. So since I finished my undergrad at the University of Ibadan, I'd wanted to actually do something that has to do with computer and humanities. I never knew anything about the existence of such a thing. So all I knew about Corpus Linguistics, and then I have to be in the Department of Linguistics for me to be able to do Corpus Linguistics. And for me to be able to do that, it means that I must have taken some courses, prerequisite courses, so I couldn't do that. So, and then when I started my master's program, I wanted to do something like that, but the expertise was not there for mentorship, So I had to force myself to do what was available, but the passion continued until I think towards the end of my PhD that I met Professor Okpe Davis at one of the onboard programs at the University of Ibadan. I'm saying this because of the kind of topic we have. I want to give people a background into what the journey may look like, So the basic thing is that I never started early, in terms of diving into digital humanities. Of course, I've been working on computers, doing my own thing and all that, but the passion was there. So that's one thing. So during the onboard program, I went to him. Even the onboard program was not even on DH. So I went to him and I told him I would like, I've read a few works about him, and then I would like to be mentored. And since then, so the first dive I had was the Lagos Summer School in Digital Humanities, and then the second one, and then I think the third one before I left the country. So it's an amazing thing. Of course, it wasn't easy. Self-development was there, but I would say that DH has really exposed me to the world beyond my imagination. Yes, pragmatics, discourse analysis, they are good, but they probably wouldn't have given me what DH has given me today. It was through DH that I went to the Netherlands, where I have the opportunity to embrace what I'm doing presently and the university where I am now and all that. So I am grateful to God and to the people he has used, especially Professor Okpe Davis. And that is to tell you that for DH, one thing is passion, another thing is collaboration, and then another thing is your ability to continue. So we'll dive into all that as we have this short lecture. So, and again, I feel it's a big honor for presenting after him, because I joined early. I bet it that, okay, there was no way I'm going to start at the time that they gave me. So I wasn't surprised. So it was a blessing that I joined, and then I really enjoyed his talk. So thank you, sir. And Professor Rotimi Taiwo, thank you. I think I also was encouraged by some of the things you are doing there. Thank you so much. Professor Nwabuna, I thank you for not forgetting us here. All right, so getting started in digital humanities. Do I know how many minutes I have? Hello? I would like to know how many minutes I have so I know how to go. Can you hear me?
Hear you. Wow.
How long do I have? How many minutes?
We can hear you.
40 minutes.
40 minutes, please.
40 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Because I was told I had 1 hour something before, so I wanted to be sure so that I know how to manage my time. All right. So getting started in digital humanities. I'm not going to tell us what digital humanity is necessarily. Of course, we'll get into that. But let's look at what digital humanity is not. And I'm happy that Prof inferred some of them and he said them categorically from this lecture. So first, you can see from this slide that DH is not merely digitization. So it's not just about, I'm interested in physical text, artifact, or other cultural material and all that. It's not just digitization of physical text. So if you're a computer scientist and you just want to put it there and all that, probably you are not doing DH, you are just digitizing. So, but we know that digitization is important, but when you convert digital analog information into digital format, it's also involves the interpretation of these things. So then some people have also argued, oh no, this computer thing, I don't want to have anything to do with them and all that. So they fear that DH will be a replacement for the traditional humanities. Of course, that is not correct, because courses like history or studies like history, literature, philosophy, language, and all that, they fear we are going computational, so we are going to lose our source. We are going to, so there is no need to fear, because it's only doing a complementary work. It's complementing our traditional research, So it aims to expand on this research and all that. So then it is not enough to say, hey, because I can code, I'm a DH expert, or I'm a DH scholar, I can code. So what? So you can code, or I can do some design, I'm a DH digital humanist. So what? So it is not just about coding, it's not just about data analysis, it's not just about digital mapping and all that, although they are associated, but it's not just about your technical expertise. Rather, it involves, like Prof said earlier, the theoretical, the ethical, the cultural implication of how you use these tools to research in the humanities. And I think that is clear. So again, DH is not just academic driven. It's not just art for art's sake, let's talk about it and then we just end it there. So it's not just driven towards academic. It has implication in public history, museum, in archival centers, for literary libraries and all that. So if you are a librarian, you can do digital humanities. If you are interested in creating archive or archival information, you can do digital humanities. If you are from cultural institution, like one of the speakers said, or the respondents said that the Corpus thing about the Nigerian English, we should start having then put together the professors group. So if you go through that process and you consider the aspect of language and the culture with digital with digitalization or computational aspect, then you are doing DH. And then I'm gonna, in the process, I hope I won't forget, I'm gonna try to address a question that somebody asked that I don't think it was monitored. Somebody asked the question online, but the person was asking about the difference between Corpus Linguistics and Digital Humanities. I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if that question was answered, so, but along the line, we might get into it. So, and like I inferred earlier, or like Prof also has said, that DH is not merely data-driven. You see, even in the US, in some other places, we've seen so-called digital humanities presentation, research and all that you just be confused. You just be wondering, so what? You just see a lot of data that someone is presenting, just present a lot of data and then just see data. So And then, so what do we do with this data? So it is not just showing visualization, it's not just showing the aesthetic of your work or how it is visual. How do we apply it to humanity? How do you apply it to humanities research? How do you apply it to maybe real life situation, if we can use that? So the focus then will then be on interpretation, meaning the context. So if I use a word natural, you want to look at the collocates surrounding that word. Of course, you have visualized it. You have shown us that there are 10,000 words. The word natural. The word natural is used 10,000 times, for example. Yes, but what are the predominantly collocates surrounding those words? So what implication do they have for us? So these are the kind of engagement that you want to look at in this. So, and finally, in talking about what DH is not, I would say that DH is not static. It's not static. It is not fixed to your field. In most parts of the world, the English department lay claim to the ownership of digital humanities. Of course, it's true to a great extent, but from what we've seen that it goes beyond the English department, because the English department do much of even curation of archive. We'll be talking about anthropology in that kind of a situation. If do English departments digitize books, manuscript, and all that? They can analyze, but that ownership is still there. So, but maybe because they are the one that first said it the way it is, but it does not mean that it's fixed to a particular field or a department. So rather, it is a constantly evolving technology and all that, and as many people apply it to their research in the humanities. In humanities here, we include what we refer as what we call social sciences maybe in some part of the world, including Nigeria. History, for example, is in the department of, is in the Faculty of Art in UI, but I know in some other universities in social sciences. So whichever clarification or classification you make of it, it goes beyond what people think about. So quickly, let's look at the traditional humanities and DH. For the traditional humanities, such as literature and all that, literature, philosophy, history, anthropology, and all that. So we'll see that the focus is the understanding of human culture and thought. All right, human culture and thought, human language, mannerism, patterns of discussion, pattern of talk, topicalization, topic modeling, and all that. But for digital humanities build on this to say that, okay, we're looking at these core disciplines, but how do we want to address them? We want to approach them using computational tools and methods, so that we can see new avenues and understanding this kind of research. How do we take this research beyond what we think it is? So this is just a brief description. I think this one is blurry a little, but basically it's just about the digital humanity from the traditional form. Digital humanity will then be the expanding nature of the traditional humanities, where you bring research in the traditional form to the digital landscape, and then the subject of inquiry will be the humanistic object, which includes language, it includes culture, it includes archive, it includes mannerism, it includes anything, that has to do with the way human behave, and so on and so forth. All right. So then we can see that digital humanities is interdisciplinary in scope. It's a digital method, is a humanity focus. So if we have these three things in our mind, we'll be able to really understand what we mean by digital humanity. So first, the interdisciplinary nature shows that we bring different fields like computer science, data analysis, and digital tools together with humanistic research. and it's employed digital method for the interpretation, for the analysis, and for visualization of data, artifact, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, the focus is humanities because of the interpretation. Whether you use qualitative or quantitative, we want to see that, okay, what you are doing is not pure science. It is mainly it's mainly to interpret the societal dynamics, or the social dynamics of the way humans do their thing. So as digital humanists, there are basically three key skills that we require. It's no big deal, but it's not something that is just dropped on us. It's something that we need to be deliberate about, be something that we want to do, So first is digital literacy. We should be able to do basic computer, click, open window, and all that. So we should be able to do those basic stuff, So now, you must be familiar with that. You must be familiar with software. You must not be afraid. Don't think you're going to destroy a PC and all that. If you don't get it the first time, try again. Like somebody also mentioned, watching YouTube videos. Many times you watch. And one thing about it is that once you stop doing it, you are likely going to forget what you have done. And then, but the good thing is that if you take it again, you are good to go. You're likely going to go back and then keep doing what you want to do. All right. So we need digital literacy. We should be able to analyze our data and interpret them. Of course, even if we are not the one that mine those data, if we are not the one that code the code to interpret it, to visualize or that the code that we interpret the data, we should be able to know, okay, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for the humanity? So we should be able to know, okay, if an image shows, okay, a predominance of this, what does it mean? And all that, So, and then that's it. So the humanity expertise is the strong understanding of humanities topic, the research method, and the critical thinking skill. So if you have these three basic skills, you are ready. You are good to go at digital humanities. And at this juncture, I think I should talk about the question the person asked, about corpus linguistics and digital humanities. Now, the basic difference, really, the corpus linguistics is, well, if you like, maybe an aspect of the modern digital humanities, because you are dealing with language, all right? Your core focus is language. It does not go beyond that. You are dealing with data, corpus is data, all right? Language, linguistics. So you are dealing more with the use of language in certain contexts, and then you are analyzing it using data. So you, more or less, you are doing DH, but a corpus linguist may not necessarily be a DH person, because you may not be interested beyond the way, the output, but a digital humanist may likely want to, okay, I want to be able to code this code to give me this and that. For instance, the use of prompts. I think that's what we used to use most in UI, try to understand the syllable, the pronunciation, the intensity of certain words in the language. If speaker A says this, speaker B says it this way, so where is the prominence and all that, So that will be more for corpus linguistics. About corpus linguistics is large, it's a very big field. But if we look at the modern digital humanities, we may say that maybe corpus linguistics can be a subset of digital humanities, but that can be argued. So I'm not claiming authority on that, but I'm just saying that they are different, but they are interwoven. So if you are a digital humanist, you can still also be a corpus linguist. So we may begin to treat both as both independent, both dependent of the other, So if you are one, you are likely going to be two, but it does not really mean that if you are a corpus linguist, you are automatically a digital humanist. You can just give your data to a computer science, do this for me, give me the output, and I interpret. But if I'm involved in the way you put the input, I'm involved in what you code, then we are going beyond just being a corpus linguist without trying to belittle one for the other. So let's move on. All right. So digital research method, there are a lot of them. And then the methods and tools are many, one of that is your ability to collect data, the digital method, a research method, data collection. There is what we call, is it passing now? Yeah. Where you do data cleaning, it's not that you're washing your data. You want to, if for instance, you get a body of work now, and then you want to analyze it. If you put it on Voyant, Voyant is likely going to look at all the words together. Okay. Of course, by default, it will avoid the articles and all that. But if you want to clean that data, you want to say, okay, avoid words like this. Don't give me words like this. Don't give me this, and then you do all that, and then you remove all those ones you don't want. Then you leave most likely words. For instance, if James says in every situation, and all of his speech or speeches, you're likely going to have that. But what's the importance of that? Except you want to can the kind of mannerism, that I do, and then what do you want to give to beyond saying that, okay, that is the key mannerism he has. But if I use the word educate and all that, in different contexts, you are likely going to say that, okay, how did he use this? Like, look at the word steez that people use in Nigeria. In fact, I've never heard that word until people started using it, steez. And then when you go online, then you see, okay, the etymology of that word. And then you see that, well, it's inferred and all that, So, but you can then see the different contexts in which those words are used. So your data cleaning will involve, how do you separate which one you don't want to see and which one you want to really involve in your data analysis. So the data analysis will then be the next step, where you use software, not necessarily statistical software, but they can be included. You use text analysis tool and other techniques to explore and interpret this data. The visualization is very key to digital humanities. You want to show the world what you have been doing, and then you want to use chart, you want to use graph, network, interactive visualization, and all that. Then the DH is useless if it is not disseminated. So you want to publish it, or you want to present it at conferences, or you just want to make maybe one page of this thing and you make them into posters for all to see. All right. Now, let's talk about the different aspects of digital humanities, since we are thinking of getting started. So one of those aspects is the digitization of analog materials. Here your interest is about preservation and access. So here you are trying to look at the historical document, manuscript, and artifact, and you want to make sure that next generation of people are able to see it, because nobody is paying attention. There was a time I was going around National Archive in Nigeria, especially in the Southwest, where I was collecting colonial letters, and then you'll be surprised that the colonial letters that we have, they are highly almost the same way present politicians write. Of course, the use of language is different, but you see that the content are almost the same. The manipulation, the persuasion that they do, So I was doing that, but then I didn't have personal funding to continue that kind of project. So it died a natural death, and that is one of the challenges of doing DH, the funding, especially in our part of the world, So preservation and access is one thing, So like we said earlier, why the digitalization is important for DH. Don't forget that it's just one aspect of it. And then you want to also think beyond that digitization. And then you want to think about, okay, this digitization I have done, how do I include other range of methods such as computational analysis, visualization, and data mining? How do I really want to make it? Where do I want to put it? Which platform does it go and all that? So another aspect is digitizing physical material. Then in this one, we talk about curation, So here, the step is that you prepare that physical material carefully, all right? And then it goes through you can see those people in the picture. They are trying to scan some of these archive. And that was what I intend doing with the colonial letters at that time. I did a few and I did some presentations, including that of South Africa and all that, So, and then the results were very stunning, I was also surprised myself, but it's something that also make one sad that we don't have that culture of keeping previous information, because even when I went to the National Archive, I was told to pay for me to access those things. Then as a researcher, how do I go do it? The government is not going to fund that kind of project. I want to do it. Nobody, they have to pay to access it. Maybe because of handling or something, or maybe they want to pay people. But I wasn't sure that money gets to the right avenue, because I was asked to pay. I was issued a receipt that was told I would get later, but I never got the receipt. I know that, so it's a challenge, but this is what it is. Physical materials, you can turn them into the digitized one, and then you want to see how you can process them into high quality and then accessible material that some other people far and near can access. Now there is the aspect of analyzing of textual data set, and this is where those of us in language or communication known mainly. Here, you want to look at certain texts, and then you want to use computational method to analyze that set of data. And you want to, like Prof just publish a book, an article on Achebe's use of something, I just forgot now. So, and then you see that it goes through the process of scanning those books into maybe sketch engine and all that, and then it interprets it, and then it visualizes them, then interpret for your audience, So textual analysis is that. I think along the line we'll talk more about that. So another one is network analysis. In this one, we want to look at the relationship and connection between complex data sets, and then sometimes it can involve the historical data or historical events, as we'll later see. Then the data mining we have been talking about is like the process of collection of your data. So, but you don't collect it physically, you don't collect it manually. So you probably use your skill of Python or any other program, or there are some software now that can do your mining for you. Just put in the required information, and then you sit back and get your stuff. Then statistical analysis and all that is also another thing we can look at. So I'm not going to talk much about building digital archive. I don't know if many of us, because of the facility, we may not be able to, many of us may not be able to do that, but I will refer something to like people like James Yeku. There was a time he was building an archive of Nollywood posters, and I think he still does it, was collecting data posters of Nollywood and was comparing what are they trying to do what kind of attraction, and comparing them to the modern age. I don't think we always see poster again like we used to see in those days. Rather now, everything is now Netflix and all this online stuff, So because of my time, I will jump into visualizing complex information. Like I mentioned earlier, there are different tools you can use. There is timeline visualization, where you look at the chronological order of events to understand the sequence, what happens at what time and all that. So there are tools that do this for you. And the other one, you see the network analysis we're talking about. You see the network of graphs, so you can see the connection between word A and word B. These are things that your tools can do for you, and it makes sense. That in this one, the sample that we give, the keyword there, which all other base their collocation on, or where their network is, what partial. So you see that relationship, and you can see which one is the most related, relatable to that keywords, and then you begin to form your interpretation based on things like that. Now, so if you want to develop, one other thing that we do that not everybody do is the development of digital tools. Of course, it is a doable. I saw the young man who developed a map or maybe a game, zigzag. I didn't get it clearly, but I think it was showing is it jigsaw, of a map of Osun State, Nigeria, and all that. That was a good one. But he can also think about creating such game and making it digital, and you own it. You own the patency. If you have the skill, or you can work with computer scientists, if they will not steal the idea from you, and you create such games. If you create it, and then maybe you rely on advert to make your money back and all that, So, but there are ways to do that. I'm not an expert in that, but I love what he just showed, but he can also take it beyond the physical object. But the physical object is good because it takes your memory, but the online twin is good because it expands the number of people who can use your stuff. All right, so well done, sir. We can create our own digital tools, we can develop them, but we need to subject them to need assessment. Who will use what you are presenting? What is it going to be useful for? Many DA tools that are obsolete today, or they are moribund because no one is using them, and Voyant is there because it applies to most things. AntConc is also there because most people are able to use it, but there are lots of software application that people are not using. I'm not sure how many of us still use Pratt. Maybe those of you in linguistics still use Pratt, but there are more sophisticated tools than Pratt. I know there is a natural language something I used to use. Some of them are going to extinction because no one is using it. So you must also think about design and development. You must think about testing and evaluation. And these are the things that are lacking in our world, So now, another thing I'd like to quickly talk about is applying computational method to humanities question. I see this is showing repetition now. So one is natural language processing. Here, we want to see, people have been talking about AI. So AI cannot do anything except the human influence it to do what it's doing. Even if you use any of these tools like ChatGPT and all that, you need some level of intelligence to be able to use it to get what you want. So they rely on us, but not so many of us, just few of us, to do what it does. And that's where it becomes scary that, if you don't have the skill, you have to be on your feet and then make sure that you are following the trend, So the natural language processing analyze the structure and meaning of text data and shows us the patterns and insights that we can use. Machine learning is where we develop algorithms to learn from data. You know, this book, Algorithm of Oppression, it's one book that really criticized some of the kind of input, some of the kind of data that is fed into some of these algorithms, that when you ask certain questions, you know, they give you something that is highly biased, maybe against a particular race or against a particular set of people, you know. So even in Nigeria, if you check certain words, you know, you likely, you may not know, but it will show you bias. So this is machine learning. It is what the computer, the programmer, you know, teaches the machine to do that it basically does. And then we'll talk about data visualization before. So now, when you want to engage with digital culture and their impact, you are thinking of social media analysis. These are the places where you can really think of getting your data, and then if you want to actually practice digital humanities or even Corpus Linguistics, you want to think about how do you analyze what's going on on the social media platform, how public opinion or the cultural discourse are being channeled, you know, what can you make of them, you know? So you want to do that. So there is no way you do digital humanities that you are not engaging with digital culture, but which also has its own impact and all that. And that's the one I would like to talk about there. Now, if you are integrating digital technology you can integrate digital technology into teaching and learning. And the prof has said that earlier, you know, you can make interactive learning platform like online quizzes and assessment. You can do virtual simulation and games. You can do collaboration of projects and discussion with other people in other places. Digital storytelling talked about this too, where you encourage students to create their own digital narratives to explore how they can create digital video essays, interactive timelines and maps, and then different multimedia that they can present in class or even beyond. So then in integrating digital technology, you are thinking of the digital research skills that we talked about. So here we want to see how you are able to teach your students how to conduct research using these tools. So you want to teach them on how to access online database and archive, digital research methods, and data analysis and visualization. So one major thing about DH is the collaboration among different people. You cannot do it all. If you want to be a successful DH person, you must always seek partnership. Of course, if someone is not willing to work with you, you can try to do what you can do within your corners. But in the humanities, we hardly do much of partnership in the past, but that is changing now. You know, that we want to say, okay, you have this computer skill, I have the linguistic skill. Let's look at how the youth are talking about the present economic reality of our country. So what is it that they are saying? What is it they are not saying? You know, sometimes when I look at social media, I feel like some youth are just paid to distract us from the reality of our country. The kind of topic they talk about, they want to talk about an artist that is fighting with his wife, or P-Square and Paulo Okoye, P-Square, yeah. P-Square that are fighting with each other. What does that concern? Well, how does that concern me? You know. So we have a lot of distraction. So now, as a researcher, you want to look at those distractions. So then you look at, okay, what is trending this week? Why are these people trending? You know, there was a research I did in 2018, right? It was published in 2018. I think I started in 2016. You know, it took them 2 years, so we were doing back and forth. I thought they were not going to publish it. But as of 2018, I already had that exposure to DH, you know. So, but that research, I was talking about computer mediated humor, but I never did any computational research. if it were to be now, I know that that kind of research will have had some visualization. And like the example I gave, that people are distracted, with different things. I see then that most of the things, jokes people tell, when there is hardship in the country, they are just to relieve them of the tension. But I could not visualize that kind of analysis, and it does not really give me the kind of evidence that will have been very real to people when you just see the article. So this is what DH makes us do now, So, and that when you share knowledge, you are tending to making discoveries. So for the younger ones who are here, and I'm thinking, so who will employ me if I do digital humanities? Of course, these are the many places you can go to. You can be employed in research position, in different universities. Don't think that Nigerian universities are not doing it. I'm sure maybe towards the end of this program, maybe we'll begin to have Corpus Linguistics and the Digital Humanities Center at Bowen University too. But I can assure you, there is a center at University of Lagos. The UYO, I think they've started their own too. Anchor University have their own. And I also understand that DH is going to be, maybe it has been adopted by National University Commission to be taught at undergraduate level. When I was at Chrisland University, I introduced the course and it was approved during our accreditation. So we've been teaching it. So don't think you cannot have a place to take yourself to. In fact, there are many places, even in the Western world. In Germany, there are many places where you can do DH. In the UK, there are many places. In the United States, there are many, many, many places where DH is invoked. So if a student is here and you are thinking about doing this, University of Kansas at Lawrence is one of the places you can begin to think about. And University of Texas, Dallas too, is doing so much things in Chrisland. In DH. In my university, we do DH, but it's not based in the humanities department. That's the surprising thing, but because it's not the focus, they're still looking at the pollution, they call it, to the traditional humanities, but many people still practice and they call themselves digital humanists. So there are many places. I don't have to read everything here to you. Now, I planned that we're going to have a hand-on time on maybe the use of voyants or something, but I understand later on that there is that kind of training for during the workshop. I'm not sure I get that clearly. So how many minutes do I have more? Bros, I can see you. You can just show me the time, maybe using your hands. I can see you, or I don't know if it's the coordinator that is in front, so I can see you anyway. Can you just show me? If I see how more minutes, we can then try. But I think that along the line, somebody is going to show you how to use voyant and all that. Otherwise, if my time is already spent.
Dr. Akinola, you still have 15 minutes more.
Oh, good. Okay, then let's try. So can we grab our computer? I hope we have internet there. So let's go for voyant. Okay, but before I go into that, are there people who already know how to use this in the audience? Just wave, I can see you. You know how to use voyant? Okay, if you don't know how to use voyant, wave. Oh, okay. So that I don't waste our time in what we already know. Okay, so let's go to voyant. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I will share another screen and show us. So how many of us, I hope we have our computers there. Yeah, all right. If you have your computer, say yes. Okay, all right. So are we connected? All right. So let's go to Voyant. I'll come back to the slide. I think we can do that. I'm happy that I did not exhaust the time. Let me stop sharing so that, where is this? Okay, stop share. Yeah. So did you get the address? If you know that I can see, did you get the address? Just give me a thumb. If you get the address where you're going, just thumb. If you don't get it, thumb down. Oh, okay. Now, then I share again. So, let me just share again. Oh, okay. What you can see, what you cannot see. Okay, I'm just going to go straight to the, so whichever browser you're using, let's do this. Take this here. Now we can use this one below.
The address.
Yes, I'll do it. I know. I don't want it to be showing everything I'm doing. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen? I think you can.
Yes.
Right. Is it a blank screen? You can see all this, the Voyant screen. Which one?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So this is our Voyant. Can you see the address? It's voyant-tools.org. This Voyant tool, it has at the offline mode too, but I always advise that you use the online mode, because it's faster, it's more reliable, and if you keep the URL, you're likely going to have it forever once you have done that. All right. So are we there? If you are there, say All right. So now we can see on this Voyant tool, you can see open or upload. So if you say open, you are only going to be having an access to some of the preloaded data. There is the work of Shakespeare, and there is Austin Novels, and there is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein's work there, So if you don't have your own data, that's where that is useful. But I would like us to use our data. So maybe I should suggest that if you have a paper you're working on, or you have your CV, yeah, your CV or your paper you're working on, can you try to upload it? Click upload. Click upload. Let me see, what can I use there? Okay, I guess. So I have somebody's so-called what they call petition here that I'm using to analyze. So I have put that. You can see my own screen showing fetching corpus, So depending on the size of your corpus, and the speed of your computer, it will show you. All right. To show you. Has anyone been able to do that? Have you been able to feed your work? Should I take it one by one again?
Yes.
All right. So what I did after getting to the Bowen Tools website, I click I already know where my data is. So I click the tab upload. All right. It will lead me to any aspect of my computers, but it can lead me anywhere. So if I don't want where it's leading me, I can do my own thing. And then I will then choose the data that I want it to analyze. It means that I already have that data, that file on my system, right? So once you see, click on that, then click on open.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you click open, you'll see that it will show uploading Corpus. Okay. This is a news piece that I just got. No, we will do something now. Maybe we'll do something that is more magical, So you can see that it gives you, has anybody been able to do it successfully? Okay, thank you. Okay, so you can see that it gives you some results, but this is not just all. Now, depending on what you want to do, if you look at the your left hand side now, you'll see that there's a place called summary. Always the one with these people will call summary. It gives you the summary of the corpus you have put, the data you have put. Now it shows that you have only inserted just a single document, and that document in my case has 2,115 total words. All right, but only 424 are unique word forms. And then it shows me the time it was created, and it showed me the vocabulary density. What level can we categorize this writer? Then how much of Obayagmon or simple English that has been used here. Then the readability, is it going to be easy to read? Is it going to be difficult to read? Then it also shows me the average word per sentence. I hope I'm not the only one seeing that in my data. Can you see that in your own? Can you? Yes, thank you, sir. So, and then now, without even looking up, side, you can see that the word digital occurred 61 times, right? And that DH itself occurred 39 times, followed by humanities 35 times, then tools 30 times, then student 30 times. So basically, this article is talking about DH and its application of the tool to students in a particular place. Then if we engage with the data, the one that visualized, they call this one cloud, word cloud. The one on the left where you see the word digital, student, DH, and other, they call it word cloud. If I want to make this word cloud to be a little conspicuous to the keywords, you see there is a bar where they wrote times, right? Can you see that? There is a bar. I don't know if you can see my mouse. There is a bar here under that visualization. So if you drag it, you see what it has changed the stuff to. I just drag it forward. Then it had made other words smaller, and it has retained those most frequently occurring words, in the text. I can make it to be more than that. I can still drag it forward and still make the other one smaller. All right. You can see that. Then in this one now, you can then interpret, just like I did here, to say that in this data, this person, the focus of this talk is on this topic, that topic, and then these are the most frequently used words. Now, we want to go further because you cannot learn everything just under 15, 30 minutes, So you want to go further, you want to see, okay, how do these words collocate? So if you want to do that, if you over your mouse towards the question mark up here on that that voyant where we have the word cloud, the one I called word cloud, this one. If you over your mouse to the upper part, the right hand side, if you over it near the question mark, you will see three icons. One is export a URL, the other one is click to choose another tool, and the other one is define option for this tool. So if I want, I hope I'm not too fast. Okay. So if I want to change what I want to see, instead of this word cloud, if I want to change the tool and I pick another tool, there is one that looks like a draggable button. If you put your mouse, it will show you the name is define option for this tool. All right. So if you click it now, it's going to show you. If you click this, it's going to show you. This one is going to show you what you can do with those words. For example, I don't want the word student to show. Okay, if I don't want the word student to show, you see, if after you click that, it shows you options, and you can see auto detect. Can you see that? Can you? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so in front of that auto detect, there is edit list. If you click it, if you click the edit list, you see some words that are already there. Those words that are there, they are the words that you will not see manifested in your output. So if you want to add some words that you don't want them to show in that output, for example, I don't want to see the word DH. So I can press enter and add the word DH. All right. If I don't want to see the word, which word should we remove? Give me a suggestion. Give me a suggestion. Which one should we remove? Okay, let's remove the name of the. There is a name there. So I remove the name Ade. Let's say I want to remove the word digital. I added the word digital there. Then I click on save. If I click save, all right, I've added those words and I click confirm. Now, what it will do for me now is that it's going to redo that thing and then remove those words that I don't want. You see now, you can't see the word digital in that stuff again. It has removed it, right? It has removed it. And if I want my stuff to be small, I can reduce it, using that arrow, the bar on that button. This thing is very simple. I can bet you, so don't think of it, I will not be able to do that. So now let me just show us one more thing so that I don't bore us with too many stuff. One other thing you can do, you can do many things with this thing, many, to enhance your data, your analysis and all that. Now, one other thing, if you click on the one that looks like window, you see there is one that looks like window. Okay, if you click on it, it shows you different tools. So for those of us in Corpus Linguistics, it has shown rather Corpus tools. The Cyrus is the word cloud that we have here already. For Voyant, that the word cloud is called Cyrus. So I want to pick other tools. Let's say I want to pick collocate. All right, and I click collocate now. You see now. It's showing me. Now. So the word informal and argumentation, they collocate within 12 contexts. All right. Humanities and two, we have nine times of their collocation. For integrating, the tools, integrating tools, tools integration, we have them 8 times. We have Nigerian universities, we have university settles and all that. You know, you can see the collocation in different instances, you know. All right. So finally, let me go to another visualization to here, let's use the STEM graph or the trend graph. You know, this one may not make so much meaning to us, but it shows us the trend. I mean, the stream, like an ocean, you know, how those will record. But this is difficult to interpret to some of us. So let's use the one time radio. Then I'll use one more. Then I'll show us one more thing, and then you see. So this is time radio. So it has shown me the what humanity, how it was interacting with nearly every other words in that same hymn. It's interacted with nearly every other word, so many words, you know. So let's then see the word tree. I think that is important that we know that, you know, the word tree. So you can play on this thing, you can check it on yourself. So you can see the word digital. The two words are digital and humanities, you know. And then we can see digital, humanities can do this, humanities DH, humanities workshop, digital humanity is this, digital humanity is that. I can make the words not to have this IS that is because it's a grammatical word. So if I don't want it, I want real content word, I can do that. So basically, if you look at the one on the left, it's also a kind of visualization tool. Of course, whatever you have on the left, you can have it on that right side so that you don't get it twisted, you know. So here, it also shows us the relation. You can see that this one is more of graphs, you know, and then you can see the words, the most recurring word, that is humanities. So not even, okay, no. There is digital humanities as the most occurring word, all right? And then we have humanities followed, then we have humanities again. But the dots here, they are just showing us how those words, how they stop and they relate with one another. The network analysis thing, I don't want to get too complex and I don't want to maybe confuse us, you know. But there are a lot of things you can do with this. And I encourage everybody in this audience today to always try this digital, Voyant tool, either for your corpus analysis or whatever you're doing, put it into it. The more you interact with it, the more you know it, you know. And if you are confused, you can use YouTube, you know, for some of these things that we've been talking about. All right. So let me just get back to my slide now. And then we can call it a day. Okay. Okay. Huh? All right. Let's go into the beginning. So let me just jump into the final slide and then so we have tried this, and then this is what we use here. And then if you want to seek more information, you can use this. I am the one that put this. So if you type this address and you put it on your browser, it's going to lead you to where you can seek help in the way you use Voyant tool, you know. So finally, if you want to get started with DH2, you should have this strategy. Number one way is to choose the right tool, you know. the number one into choosing the right tool is that you must identify your kind of research you want to do. What are my research questions and objectives? Why am I doing this? What do I want to get? If you want to see how people dance in Lagos, you're likely not going to use Bowen tool, you know. But if you want to see how certain words are used, you want to consider that tool. All right. Again, another thing you want to do is that you want to consider the type and scale of data you are working with, you know, and then you want to say, okay, how much expertise do I need for this? You want to assess the learning curve and require technical skills. Then after you've been able to do these three, you want to evaluate the tools compatibility with other software. If you are using Mac, sometimes the realization might be different from when you use PC. And then we want to look at, okay, if I run into a problem, can I see online support? Are there people using this that can guide me? You know, we want to think about that. All right. So now, if you want to improve on all of this, apart from watching videos, I want to encourage us that if you want to integrate DA tools into your research, you should make it a habit to attend workshops, webinars, conferences, to expand your knowledge and skills. You must seek to collaborate with other practitioners in the field. If you can participate in online forum or social groups or mailing lists that are related to DH, it will also help. And then I'm sure that there are many institutions that in Nigeria now that are doing this kind of project. So you can consider partnering with them. Now, most importantly, don't think of solving the world problem. You want to start small. Start with a small scale project so that you can familiarize yourself with the tool. All right. And then talk to your colleagues. Professor Boabona is there, you know, and then talk to them. They can share their experiences and insight with you. And then be deliberate about this. Incorporate DA tools into your assignment, into your project. And then once you see your student engaging in it, they like it. For my students here, whenever I use visualization, I see that their attention level is higher, especially when I use something that has to do with maybe DH or just digital stuff like Mentimeter and all that. They are so interested. They want to, you know, it's like that playing tendency is there for nearly everybody. You just want to have fun. You want to enjoy yourself. All right. So, in that note, I thank you for your time, your attention. That is, if you have questions, let's have it.